Good morning. This might be one of the greatest streams I've ever done in my life, or it'll be mid, but I'm really gonna try, okay? It's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna be a great one. So before we begin, I just want to say it's Friday, and I did not process how fast this week went by because yesterday my partner was like, I said something like, oh, tomorrow, thinking it was like Thursday. And they're like, it's Friday. I was like, no, it's not. That can't be true. It can't be Friday. It's Friday. And I just don't even know when it became Friday. We must have just really been busy this week, you know? So I've put together a pretty good stream. I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think we're really going to bring to an end this week. And I can stop talking about Hassan Piker. Because I'd really like to, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's great. It's trending. It's good. It's bringing in a lot of people. A lot of people are changing their mind. Like, I'm really impressed with the reaction. I'm really impressed with the results of this week, okay? And this is the last, I'm so tired. Decenter men, okay? But, you know, all the jokes aside, I really think this week has been an amazing experience, and I'm just so grateful for it. And I appreciate everyone's effort in having these conversations. Because I'm learning, you're learning, we're all learning together. But you know, so this might just wrap it up perfectly. Talking about a bunch of trending new stuff that not only have you requested I talk about, but I've been dying to talk about. Lots of news stories. So I'm going to try to really wrap it all together. So just a preemptive trigger warning, a lot of domestic violence today, you know, assault, murder, suicide, just like a lot of really heavy topics, but it's going to relate to all of these topics together. And also we're going to continue the conversation about working with your oppressors, marginalized communities being asked to put aside the focus of their community struggle for the sake of the greater good, which how many times have they been asked to do that? You know what I mean? So we're going to wrap it all together. Maiden, welcome to memberships tier 2. Welcome to have you. Absolutely welcome to have you. Love you. Thinking of you. Hope you're having a great day. With that said, let's get started, okay? First and foremost, I want to start with an amazing comment I got from somebody, which forces us to have one of my favorite philosophical conversations about why and when, right? So they said, was it Hassan that changed their minds, or were they just open-minded? Maybe both. That's from my quote on a stream I made about Hassan when people said, Brittany, Hassan is doing great things, which we can agree to. Easy agreement there. No argument. Hassan is the reason I changed my mind. I'm going to stop you there. And I'm going to say, no one is the reason you change your mind except you. Because without your consent, you couldn't have changed your mind. So you're giving the credit to the wrong person, as if to say, without Hassan, how could I have been? But Hassan does not need to exist for you to change your mind. So it's a philosophical challenge, right? They go on to say, a fire can only start when there is both flammable material and a spark. Hassan is the spark that hit the flammable material and the open-minded person. Does it make sense? Edited for formatting. I said, this is a great philosophical conversation. Did the spark start when the person decided to click on the video, or when they heard Hassan speak? Was it their desire for content, the spark, or did something that started before they even turned on the computer or phone? Maybe they read a book that brought them to YouTube, or they found Hassan's videos. This is why I believe the don't change minds. I think it's ego focus. I think people are already on the path, and I'm just someone they meet along the way. But they are the ones that are having the true experience of change. They said, I think Hassan was the spark, but the other things were like drying the flammable material for the spark to take root and start a fire. Of course, this only works if they are willing to let it dry and not consistently pour water on the flammable material, right? Of course, it's an imperfect metaphor. As my dad likes to say, all models are wrong, some models are useful. So all of this is great, right? All of these are amazing, right? All of these are something. Like, there's something here to ask the question, when did I start to think? When did I start to consider? When did I start to engage? And, you know, it's just like my therapist. I'll say something like, oh, my therapist saved my life. But the truth is, my therapist gave me the tools to save my own life, right? Like, yes, she was an amazing force and an amazing teacher, but the truth is therapy alone didn't save me. If I wasn't doing philosophical work, if I wasn't reading books, if I wasn't meditating, I also wouldn't have gotten better. So yes, to give her some sort of credit, she deserves it. She worked really hard with me. And also, she gave me the tools to figure out my own life. And by the way, it took 2 years out of therapy for all of her lessons to even click because I kept engaging with the lessons she taught me. If I just did therapy and left her office and never thought about therapy again, I never would have been helped by therapy. I would be on the internet saying something completely different. Therapy didn't work for me. Therapy was bullshit. Therapy was a waste of money. But because I continued to this day engaging with things she taught me, to this day meditating on lessons she taught me, I am becoming a better and better person every day. So, what I'm doing is I'm not taking away the credit from Hassan's work. I'm saying when we give the credit to the wrong people in the wrong way, we take away the agency from the people for making the embodied and proper change, right? So I'm going to show you this clip that I've shown you 1,000 times this week, but just once more again, in case somebody is newly watching my content, this is the first time they're seeing my videos and they haven't been keeping up all week. My name is Brittany Simon. We do philosophy through pop culture. And this video encompasses exactly the problem with why, right? Here we go.
Like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. Why don't you like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson?
Because they've said some horrific things over the years.
So what? I mean,
why don't you like Ben Shapiro?
I mean, Piers Morgan has said the horrible things over the years.
He's not said anything close to what Tucker Carlson has said about Muslims, about Arabs, about immigrants.
And why can't we be strategic and use their platforms?
You can.
Yeah, but like
some people do.
You don't like that. You don't like.
No, it's not that I don't like it. It's that my worry is that for the sake of one important issue, Gaza is a huge issue. We're giving a pass to these people to launder some of their other objectionable. Like I said just now, they're not disowning Trump. Actually, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm going to have to go home and take a shower after this. I give her credit out of all of them because she actually picked a fight with Trump. She gave up her political career. So she actually put her money where her mouth is, to use a phrase. The rest of Tucker doesn't say a single anti-Trump word. He acts like the war in Iran came down from the skies. We wouldn't be in this war in Iran had Tucker not promoted Trump for president, had Candace not promoted Trump for president, had Megyn Kelly not promoted Trump for president. We're in this war, Joe Rogan, Theo Von, all these guys. Did you watch Joe and Theo the other day saying they're fucking terrorists, Israel? I can't believe we're in this war. You guys gave us Trump. You said Kamala Harris is going to do war. Trump is anti-war.
Okay, so you get the idea, right? I don't even have to play the whole thing. You get the idea. The idea is that one side, Basim, says, let's work together in coalition because we want this one thing to stop. And Mahdi says, yes, but they've done some pretty horrible things and I just don't think it's authentic, basically. He's saying, how do I know that after all this is done, Tucker's not going to support another genocide, right? That's me inferring from what he's saying, because that's the logical conclusion. The logical conclusion is, let's say we stop this one singular genocide, which, by the way, is not the only one happening right now. What about the rest? And this is why even Sudanese people, and this is why people in the Congo are saying, this is why people, when the Haitians were struggling, this is why people are saying, if Gaza, if Palestine, with all of its publicity, all of its backing, everyone, the most powerful people in the world are talking about it every day and it's not stopping, what hope do we have? And I'm saying it's because you're not trying to stop a genocide at its root. You're trying to put a Band-Aid over a thing that keeps happening over and over again. I think influenced heavily from patriarchy. I'll get into it in details. But my thing is same thing with dismantling capitalism. Patriarchy is this structural thing that is so old and so deeply rooted in all of us that even the most well-intentioned people, especially people raised as men, utilize violence as a form of liberation. They can't think outside of it, right? And I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about how, because you don't separate these things from patriarchy, because you don't see that patriarchy is honestly the dome, right? The overlapping like tent, if you will, of these two things that you're so upset with, you're never going to get rid of these things because you can't. Netanyahu yesterday said he'll be Genghis Khan over Jesus Christ, right? And like both are forms of patriarchy, by the way. Like Jesus was as much a patriarch as Genghis Khan was. So you're not exactly even challenging patriarchy with that sentence. He's saying out of all the patriarchal systems, I'll choose the one that's violent because I feel entitled. That's Netanyahu, that's Bibi, right? Okay. So then we have this larger conversation that I think is really important about the way that men show up in politics, in activism, and also philosophy. Reminder, this is still a philosophy channel. And of course we talk about politics because philosophy encompasses all topics, right? Versus politics does not always encompass necessarily like philosophy as it relates to ethics or philosophy as it relates to the meaning of man, right? So somebody said in my comment section, the master's tools will not dismantle the master's house. To me, it is so obvious Hasan has not read feminist or black literature or theory. I say to them, when it comes to, oh, no, hold on. I think this is backwards. You can see the timestamps as I was 3 hours ago and they were 4 hours ago. 4 hours ago, they said, except he does, LOL. Why? Way to make assumptions. Fact is, even if we all read the same literature, doesn't mean we'll all walk away with the same understanding of it, even accept the merits of it, because of our life experience and identity informs everything. A few years back, I used to date a guy who loved reading revolutionary black literature and could quote it back to front. He was a black man. I read the same book, so I know the contents. He was also a huge misogynist who could never understand how the framework of oppression that had been used against black people intersected with how women are treated under patriarchy and sexism. He defended sexism and believed that women literally deserved less rights. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is Hasan in any way, but my point is that you can understand one system of oppression, read all the literature in the world, and still not understand and not have an understanding of intersectionality or reach the understanding of intersectionality. We see this very often with white women feminism too. Ironically, I disagreed with Brittany's argument in the last video that we can't change people even with all the education effort in the world. We just have to wait for them to change. But after writing this comment out, I can see why she holds this perspective more clearly. Now, I said to the person originally, and this was a great conversation, so shout out to both these chatters. I said, when it comes to Hasan not reading, I wonder if he absorbs it in a specific way. This is us actively problem solving. You see how we're engaging in sort of a layered, simple, short conversation about the experience of the reader, the consumer, and then how it ends up showing up in real life, right? So notice that this is introspective, extrospective work, right? This is philosophy, okay? So I said, when it comes to Hasan not reading, I wonder if he absorbs it in a specific way. I know ADHD individuals can struggle to read because of attention spans, and probably also why he struggles with meditation or doesn't enjoy it, ? I'm not sure. But I'm sure he's read some black feminist writers, bell hooks probably, but I wonder if he really sits in it, feels it, thinks about it. Some people read in a very, quote, brain way without their body, which I think limits their empathy, while others are a full mind and body experience. So, if you have aphantasia, if you don't have an inner monologue, like example, when I read, I'm like in a brand new universe. I am zapped into a portal. No matter what I am reading, everything blurs around me. And I am just, oh my God, I am feeling it. I am crying. I am angry. I am frustrated. Like I am just absolutely having a full body experience, which is why I've read so many books, because I just fall into it. You know what I mean? Like, I become all consumed, whether I'm reading an audiobook or whether I'm reading a book, in a traditional way. Nothing like, whoa. And I am feeling it, right? It's it's an amazing experience. It's like better than drugs. It's a full body experience. I think a lot of men, people raised men especially, are also not given the credibility of having that experience because it sounds weak. It sounds girly. It sounds, you know what I mean? So when we, have this conversation and we're trying to have it in a way that's embodied and real, he can read as much black literature as he wants. That doesn't mean he's really embodying it. It doesn't mean he's crying. It doesn't mean he's feeling. Dr. K once said to Destiny, like, you're missing the forest for the trees because you think all people just live in their heads. There are plenty of people who live in their bodies. And Destiny didn't understand it. Destiny was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean, bro? Sports, ballet, athletes. Like, what do you mean? Like, imagine being a man in politics, thinking you understand the world and you don't even know you have a body. And then if you're Hasan, the only relationship you have to your body is that you hate it because you think it's fat. And then these men are like, I don't need therapy. As if fat phobia doesn't impact black communities. As if fat phobia doesn't impact black and brown bodies. As if fat phobia isn't a tool of white supremacy. Do you know what I mean? Like all these men in these positions with microphones becoming millionaires off the back of our views and only come to they can't even start to fathom the lived experience. No wonder they end up picking like Destiny and his pro-Zionism and Hasan with his like collective consciousness that doesn't embody or negates or rejects or doesn't focus on minority communities in the way that I think is more embodied and real. So, okay, fine, whatever, right? Boys are gonna boy, right? So then, I I said, I replied, so I always reply to comments as well to let new people see it. So, because sometimes people leave comments and I don't want people to just to think that's what I think or to expand. I want people to share. So this person left a great comment and I said, we give people tools, but they have to choose to change. It's therapy 101, philosophy 101. It's being a parent 101. It's dating a guy who won't help with chores 101. We know people don't change until they want, want to. That's what I mean when I say people can't change. P.S. Just so new people get it if they're seeing this, I appreciate you hearing me out, and I'm glad I made sense eventually, right? Because, we're looking at statistics about how men won't pull their weight, right? How men won't do chores in the household. And I'm sitting here like, you want class consciousness when it comes to capitalism, but patriarchy is the reason men won't do chores. And yet I do think there's something more likely to encourage men to go blow shit up through patriarchy that allows them to have a likely chance of joining class consciousness, because men are like, oh, I get to blow shit up and feel good about myself. Yeah, I might do this. See, the problem is like, what is the revolution if it comes at the expense of the earth and people's bodies and people's homes? And like, what is the end of your revolution going to have, for these communities that you have been promising time and time again? Just work with us and I swear it will be good for you at the end. How many times have minority communities have to hear that? How many times do we have to hear that? Like, oh, just trust us. Just trust us. Just trust us. It's like, okay, like, I don't know. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second in more detail because I have another comment I want to show you. They said, hey, I really appreciate your response here. You're so right. I remember trying to debate this guy so often about sexism because in my mind, he'd read the literature, so he had the tools. And I just had to convince him to change his perspective to care enough. Looking back now, I can see it simply doesn't work that way or like that. Same with your content. I couldn't watch your content until I could. I still have so many knee-jerk reactions when you tackle certain topics that sometimes I have to give myself time to sit with your words rather than just responding or reacting. I really appreciate your channel in somewhat a selfish way for the way that it's helping me grow. I mean, be selfish, you know what I'm saying? But same, like, I get it. I am in many ways a very rough listen. So I hear you. I get it, right? I'm a rough listen, and I absolutely hear you. I think, again, I'm always trying to find my own personal calling. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm working within my joy as well. And I certainly don't want to be mean or cruel, but I dropped the ball too, which I'll talk about in a second. I will call myself out and I will give you why I think I need to keep calling people out, because people called me out and I got better. Like, genuinely, if you really respect the people who are calling you out, I think those are the people who can help you change. If it's the wrong people calling you out, well, obviously you don't have to listen to them. Like, I'm not going to listen to conservatives who are calling me out, right? Like, what? You know what I mean? But if I respect somebody, truly respect them, and they're like, hey, Britt, I'm like, okay, hold on, let me listen. Because that's what my audience, the people in my audience that I feel really get me and get my content and explain it in a way that my brain hears, you have helped me change myself, right? And that's the point. We are helping each other change. And look how patient some of you had to be through some of those eras of my life, right? For those who have been here a really long time. Okay, now to get into the next topic about minorities and bad faith and everything else, I sort of want to show you this video, and it might feel like, why are you showing us this video? But I just want you to watch it and absorb it with me. It's really graphic. Okay. It's super duper graphic. It just happened. It got posted 14 hours ago. It's the NYPD beating up an innocent man. They think he's guilty. He's not. And I just need you to understand, it's a bad video. And especially if you're Black, you might not want to watch it because it is a Black man being punched by these white men. It's really graphic. Okay. Is that it? Okay. Trigger warning. Ready? Okay. Let me see. Hold on. I'm so mad. It's a minute 40. Okay. It's a minute 40. Okay. So come back in 3 minutes. Come back in 3 minutes. Okay. Here we go.
At myself that I didn't throw my body against him. Oh my God. To protect this man.
Those officers are on modified duty, but activists are calling on the NYPD to fire them.
Okay.
They were on an undercover drug sting in Brooklyn when they confronted a man violently who they thought was a part of that deal. Well, it turns out it was the wrong guy. That man, identified as Timothy Brown, is repeatedly punched by officers, then wrestled to the ground and dragged towards the door. At one point, one of the officers is seen stomping on Brown as he was handcuffed.
Police beating a man like it was a video from the 1950s or the 1960s. The only problem is it's 2026.
The department says those officers identified themselves as members of the NYPD and attempted to arrest Brown, who they believe fit the description of a suspected drug dealer's associate. The department now confirms that Brown was not involved in that drug deal. However, he was still charged with resisting arrest and obstruction of government administration. The Brooklyn DA's office announced it's declining to prosecute those charges. The Detectives Endowment Association issued a statement responding to the incident, saying in part, quote, "Narcotics detectives arrest you and tell you to put your hands behind your back, and you don't comply. What do you think happens? We deserve all the facts before anyone rushes to judgment." Mayor Mamdani on social media called that incident disturbing and unacceptable. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says it's under investigation by the Internal Affairs Bureau.
Absolutely devastating, right? Absolutely devastating, very upsetting. I don't like it, right? And when we have these conversations, what we're asking is like a pretty big deal out of minorities to say to them, hey, I know all those other times I promised if you worked with these specifically white racist people, you would benefit. And I promise you it's going to work out for you. But that doesn't happen. It didn't happen in this moment. It's not going to happen. And so when you see a video like that, I want you to process the ask you are asking of minorities when you say, let's work together with these people. Let's work with white people in Kentucky who fly Confederate flags or whatever. Let's fight with these people. And I promise you, if we all just fight against capitalism, they're not going to turn around and shoot you. But that's a big ask for a group of people who from day one, inception of this country, never got that promise, right? Because like we know this with Native Americans, we know this with people who were here before America, quote, was founded, that they were given the same promise, you know, like, oh, work with us, we'll be nice to you, boom, you know, it's a weird perspective for me that we're talking about class consciousness. And even though it sounds really good and I'm here for it, I hear you. It's a very big ask for people to say, not anti-racism first, anti-capitalism first. Yeah, anti-capitalism and also patriarchy and also racism and also all these other things. Again, I just don't know how you're asking us to build coalition with people who I just don't think after are really going to be on our side. So let's go ahead. And I want to take this to a conversation with Mamdani's wife, who it was trending a while back, and I was waiting for exactly this moment before I talked about it. So when she was a teenager, she was tweeting out the N-word. And it was like, you know, in conversation, or she was like, you know, I don't understand the tweeting of it. I think she was trying to be in conversation, like using it in her vocabulary type thing. Either way, it's resurfaced. A lot of conservatives went to go find it. People were very upset about it. We've been waiting for his response, her response. And the Black community also has been waiting because they feel like, so are we going to talk about it, right? Like, are we going to just talk about this because we kind of elected you, right? So finally, now we're up. Here's the response. Are you ready?
Backlash surrounding his.
Whoop, the volume is so low on this video. Oh my God. Hold on, the audio is low.
His wife's past social media posts. In an interview with an art website, Rama Dawaji apologized, calling her posts harmful. The First Lady of New York City's comments come after a conservative news outlet resurfaced material, including racist and anti-gay slurs. Eyewitness News reporter Lauren Glassberg is live at Gracie Mansion with reaction. Lauren?
Sade, Rama Dawaji, the city's first lady, lives here at Gracie Mansion behind me with her husband. Of course, he is the mayor and he was the one elected to public office, but she is very much part of the package and the spotlight is also on her. She's 28 years old. She's an artist and she now has a social media following of 2 million people. But social media has also gotten her into some hot water. Rama Dawaji stood by her husband's side as he was inaugurated mayor of New York City this January, but Mayor Zohran Mamdani maintains she is not a public figure.
My wife is the love of my life, and she's also a private person who has held no formal position on my campaign or in my city hall.
That was in March when some of Douaji's controversial social media posts were uncovered. The subject has come up again in an article for Hyperallergic, an art website. The interviewer asks, becoming a public figure over the last year has changed your life drastically. Did it also change you as a person? She responds, this experience has absolutely changed my life. Notably, Douaji doesn't push back on being called a public figure. And she goes on to say, when a tabloid recently published old tweets I wrote as a teenager, I felt a lot of shame being confronted with language I used that is so harmful to others. Being 15 doesn't excuse it. And I understand the hurt I caused and am truly sorry. Those posts included saying Tel Aviv shouldn't exist in the first place, one that used a gay slur, and another that used the N-word.
For her to even feel comfortable writing that as a teenager, we deserve an explanation because, you know, her husband works for all of us.
Tanisha Grant of Moms United for Black Lives NYC acknowledges Douaji's apology, but hopes for more accountability from the first couple.
I don't even think that it really frames what she said and how harmful it is to the Black community. While I'm really looking forward to what our mayor does, it gives us doubts when we don't have, you know, our mayor saying the things that need to be said.
But today, the mayor continued to defend his wife.
She shared some of her reflections in this interview. I won't add much to them. What I will say, however, is that she is someone of incredible integrity.
Now, I did reach out to the First Lady through social media and also through her website and did not hear back. Now, in the article, she says that her focus is not on being a public figure and she wants her art to speak for itself. Live outside Gracie Mansion, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness.
So, you know, it's a very political answer. You know, it doesn't really embody the heart of it. Now, Chad said, why didn't they let him finish his sentence? Hold on, I'll just find it for us because you're right. That was a weird cutoff. I watched it, but like, you're right. I was kind of hoping that interview would have more context than have it be, let me just find it really fast.
There's ramifications for those that I love and those that are around me. My wife made the decision to be an artist. And I think that these kinds of questions are part and parcel of what is coming with myself being the mayor of this city. But at the end of the day, it is my decision to be in this position. It is my responsibility to the people of New York City. I am grateful that much of the questions that she faces are also questions about her artistry and the work that she does, because that is also who she is. You know, she shared some of her reflections in this interview. I won't add much to them. What I will say, however, is that she is someone of incredible integrity. She's someone that I am lucky to be able to call my wife, and that I am proud of her each and every day. There's ramifications.
Okay, so that's, you know, a very husband answer, I suppose. I think people wanted more of a embodied answer. Like, can you talk about the harms that this caused? Can you talk about the details? Can you talk about, you know, why you thought it was harmful and what you learned from the experience? It's really difficult, right? So not for her. I mean, it's really difficult in general for human beings to face themselves and humble themselves with the choices they make, but she might not actually know yet. And I think this is the part that is really painful for marginalized communities, because I do think that
Responding to the backlash surrounding his wife's past.
I do think she might not know yet, which sounds crazy, right? Because everyone's like, what do you mean you don't know yet? Hold on, I'm trying to find you the tweets, because everyone keeps saying, or people in chat are saying they still haven't seen the tweets. So let me just try to find a screenshot here I can show you so we're on the same page. It looks like, oh, okay, where is Reddit? This is the one time I need to go to Reddit for something, because apparently nobody wants to show me these tweets. You just know Reddit's gonna have it. Reddit's gonna have all the tweets that we need. Give me a second. Does nobody have these tweets? Do these tweets exist? Hello? I know they exist, I think, but it's kind of crazy that nobody is showing them. They should be the first thing that pop up on my search. Okay, here we go. No, this tweet is fake. What? Hello? I saw the tweets on news things, and now why is it so hard? Apparently they took them off the internet. Okay, so that was the other part where people were mad, because people said the tweets disappeared off the internet. But they exist. I know they exist. I'm so confused. Wait, I feel so I feel so annoyed right now. Hold on. This is the part that makes me, I'm pissed now. Give me the tweets.
She did it, guys. Rama Dawaji finally apologized for those hateful tweets she made back when she was 15 years old. Now, I posted about this, and
Are people not showing them for a reason?
Why are we still canceling people for teenage tweets? For all of human history, teenagers have been idiots. They've made dumb jokes, said things they shouldn't, and let their own ignorance get the better of them. Before social media, these foils...
What? Am I confused? Hold on. Okay, hold on.
Zoran Mondami's wife is a racist, and the left is up in arms about it. Earlier today, I made this post on Threads, and I've been getting racist responses ever since. Leftists want to stick their heads in the sand or just pretend this whole thing isn't true when it's true. Rama made this tweet and many others.
Okay, here it is. Talking gangster with me, genius. And then she says, hell yeah, N-word, super duper genius, excuse you. Like soft A, you know, I don't know if she's trying to be cool, bro. Like she's just like cool, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I don't know.
Back in 2013, and they just now came to light. And I think because leftists are in their echo chamber, they did miss this, but it's true. It is a little hard to find because she deleted her whole account. And Zoran's excuse for
Thank you. It's hard. No wonder it was so hard to find.
the account deletion is that she's a private citizen. Whether you're public or private citizen, racism is racism, full stop. And if you're making excuses for her or Zoran, you're also a part of the problem. Side note, I do want to add...
Okay, pause. Hold on. Discord sent this. Why are all these FGTS, so F word, following me? Oh, apparently okay, from my understanding, she tweeted and then she noticed that all the people following her were gay and then or not gay, or she just wanted to use the slur. And then she posted that. So like, why are all these following me? So, okay. So here's what I would think if I saw this. She grew up in a racist family with racist propaganda. She felt entitled to posting the way that she did. She was a teenager in a culture that allowed it. The question is, why did she feel entitled to saying these things? And why do teenagers go through this stage of posting online? Some, not all, obviously. Lots of us did not go through this stage, okay? Many of us did not have a N-word on Twitter stage. But for those who did, why did they have that stage? Why did they have that interaction with that? And then also, you know, I wish there was a space, and I think there is a space because you have to make it, for her to come out and say specifically who she harmed. Because I noticed that her PR statement didn't say like who she harmed or specifics about the communities, or, you know, and I get it. The people who found these tweets were conservatives, right? So we kind of want to ignore it because we want to say, well, the conservatives are distracting us. The conservatives are distracting us. But that's not the point. The point is that she did it. It's hurtful. Do something. Okay? Like, it doesn't matter who found the tweets. They exist. You did it. Apologize for what you did. Apologize for what your mouth did. Apologize for what your body did. Apologize for what your brain process is reasonable, and move on. But we can't move on because now you're not apologizing in a way that makes people feel seen. And so now people are going to look at you and be like, are you racist? And then it's like, why are you calling me racist? It's like, well, because you had an opportunity and you didn't take it. It's like the Black community, at least that I follow on TikTok, they were like, we'll wait. And then they waited. And then this is what they got. And not to mention the gay community. You're lucky the gays, okay? You're lucky the gays always take back seat, because right now, in terms of racism, I think like anti-Blackness needs to be covered because it also encompasses like gay problems and trans problems. But I would just say, like, we're waiting. Okay, now where's ours? Because we didn't get either. So both of our communities got shafted, basically. Both of them got ignored. And so that's the point, is like, we're waiting. Because I do think like there's so much here, like, it's fine. It's what it is, right? We're used to it. So let me go here. Let me take this back to our conversation this week. Once again, where minorities and people of color and gay people and trans people are always told, not right now. You're second to the larger problem. The larger problem is New Yorkers can't pay rent. Right? So let me go back. Let me whiplash you back to my comment section. It says, I don't think Brittany, nope. First one says, what a shame. You don't see it, do you? You want him to be the bad guy so much, even though you can't prove it. Okay, so this is Hassan, right? So now you say, I don't trust him or believe him, knowing full well your own bitterness about not getting attention clouded your judgment. I'm afraid of every accusation you do is an admission of your in your case, you manufactured arguments with identity politics that he somehow doesn't believe, or that I say judge people with their actions, Hassan's actions that describe his morality. We saw his activism. We saw him on the streets. What is your actions? You claim that you fight the fight, but you spent how many videos on Hassan to a stalker level instead of fighting the fight you claim to do. You are sadly as rage performative as any other hater of him. So there is this there is this thing where I can see why someone would fall into that category for sure. Like, we know there are people on the internet who make like obsessive amounts of content about people. The reason I keep saying Hasan is a public figure now is because you have to let people treat him the way we would the mayor of New York, but not the mayor of New York. That's why I gave like entertainer examples, or like kind of like a Piers Morgan or Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens. Like he's famous enough now that we have to be able to talk about him in sort of this way. Now, I understand there is some data to show that it's better for us never to criticize men on the left in any way, because, quote, it might slow down the movement. And yet we know that always comes at the expense of mostly femme people. So I'm not going to do that. Right? Now, I will say, somebody else said, I don't think Brittany is bad faith, but I do think coming off this video, I'm realizing a clear difference in personal philosophies here seem to be that she initially will always distrust somebody until she sees definite proof that it meets her metric of judgment, that they embody the worldview they espouse completely. I'm not distrusting anybody, for the record. I'm trusting people to be who they are. I trust Candace Owens to be a conservative. I trust Tucker Carlson to be a racist. I trust my mom to vote Republican. I trust Hasan to walk his dog Kaya, right? I trust people to be who they are. I go based off of the data. I always assume people are pretty good, right? But I feel like I've done a pretty good argument this week of saying, here's where I distrust. In the same way I can now say, I don't trust, not that she's a public figure, but the fact that she said these slurs and then came out with sort of a PR apology, it's like, well, I don't trust it. Am I not allowed to trust it? In the same way, you're not allowed to trust me if you feel like I don't do the work. You can't and are not entitled to people's trust. Now, with that said, do I think she's the most evil person who's ever existed? No. Do I think she's a public figure? Yes. Do I think like I'm going to follow her? No. Like, no. Now I don't know. Now I'm confused. So now I'm like, I'm not going to, even though she's a fashion queen, right? Okay. Now, they said, mine is that I will judge a person off their actions and words and give them graces as long as their behavior is positive until the point where that person begins or behaves in a way that diametrically opposed to my own moral views, or they give me a reason to distrust them. Right. So same, right? Now her worldview or philosophy is useful to her within the philosophy space because it gives her much more to investigate and explore in regards to topics that she delves in with, whereas implicit trust might not make for interesting content within the philosophy space. What? Habibis, what? Right? I think it's important to remember the context of this is a philosophy space, just like Hasan's space is political. And Brittany would say those two separate bubbles, their bubbles just happen to overlap, obviously. But that doesn't mean that Brittany is required to turn this space into a political one. Right, that's true too. And I gave the Kaya example as the point, right? Like, I trust everyone to be people. Right? I feel like I gave really good data, but that's the problem. They're saying this doesn't matter. In the same way people said, it doesn't matter what Mandani's wife did because she's not a public figure. And I'm saying, it kind of matters. You see, once again, how you're asking Black communities and gay communities to ignore, you know what I'm saying, racism or homophobia for the sake of the larger movement. And I'm saying, when has this ever worked? When in history has it ever worked to ignore people? Like, when has it worked and worked for the long term? We keep going through this cycle where you want minority communities to just say, for the greater good. And I'm saying, when has it worked? We just watched a man get beat down by NYPD for simply being Black. Why? For being at a convenience store? For being, what are you doing? Why would this happen? You keep playing this game like working class white Americans aren't also cops in uniforms. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about working class white people need to come together with everybody else to take down the bourgeoisie, they're in uniforms beating up other working class people at convenience stores. So it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me, right? So then this person replied to the other person and said, I agree with you on the context of two separate bubbles, but the thing is, it makes me sad and disappointed in her that she insists that others prove their morality on her bubble, but don't extend that view or don't extend to others her view. Come across as exclusionary. Her message is exclusive to her club and the way of thinking. Even if someone agrees with her, he must prove it in a morality test that she and only she can be the judge of, like her saying, I only engage with philosophers and other women and he's too dangerous for me. That's fine, it's your show, but turning around and casting doubt on others that want to engage on the subject just screams hypocrisy to me. Forgetting by doing that, she's creating an echo chamber, nothing more, nothing less. Again, once again, right? They want me to, this is what they want me to do, right? So let me show you. They want me to do this. This just happened. This is Hassan's TikTok, right?
They want you on, what is this? They want you on the Sean Hannity podcast?
You didn't hear it in that soundbite, but he got applause at Yale for his literally, he's called the foe of America. Invited number one and number two, he says it and gets applause.
I want to see him in a debate. I told Sean, I said, invite him on your podcast because I want a long format. I want him to understand what he is.
I would love that. Oh my God, I would love that. Oh, hell yes. Oh my God. Oh yeah. They're going to be like, do not come. And I'm going to be like,
I'm going to come.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he's lived through communism. He hasn't lived through, I don't even know if he lived through 9/11. How old is he? He looks young.
Yeah, he's around.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. Oh my God. The glaze. Oh my God. Fox News. I'm blushing. Oh my Lord. I got great beard hairs. This is the oldest I can possibly look, right? If I shave all of it off, including the mustache, I look like a child. It's horrible. Everyone makes fun of me. So it's pretty funny that she thinks that I'm not 34 years old. She literally said, you look younger than 25. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I just want him to understand the consequences for what he's saying and what would happen if America did fall. Where would he go if America fell?
But the thing is, Ainsley, people like that are uncoachable.
I want to know where Brian believes this.
Oh, Brian's like, no. Sean should not debate him. Oh, no. Wait, hold up, Brian. No, Sean will destroy me. He will destroy me in the marketplace of ideas. Let me do it. I
want to know why he believes this, and I want someone who understands these issues, who is brilliant, who can say to him, what you're saying, this is what...
Who's brilliant? And then the person that she's using as a brilliant orator is Sean Hannity.
What will happen if America falls? This is what will happen if America becomes a communist country.
Oh my God, I'm licking my lips, dude. Oh my God. I give Sean Hannity a kissy poo. Yeah, Sean Hannity, known brilliant person. Oh, I'm scared. I'm so scared about that. I would hate that. I would hate that. I would hate for that to happen. I would never do that. I'm terrified. What is...
Okay. So that sounds to me similar to this, but please, it's not one-to-one. I want you to lock in and use 100% of your brain right now, because I know what you're going to do is you're going to say, like, how is that the same thing? Just hear me for a second, please. Okay.
Can make money. As soon as a black man can make money off the plantation, they're trying to tell you that the money is dirty. Well, okay, I'll go home and spend the money with actual slave owners on it. Right before I went on stage, they gave me a list of all the things I wasn't supposed to address. It was like right before I went on stage. So I took the list on stage, and that was the show. I just did the list. Don't talk about the royal family. Is that y'all? And I just made fun of them. Man, they were screaming. Ah! Then after the show, I'm backstage at a meet and greet.
Okay. Do you guys see what I'm trying to point out? Instead of not engaging with evil, as long as evil likes you and you make them laugh and they think you're cute, you're the winner. I used to believe this. I used to believe that if I can get men to laugh and engage with me and respect me, they would be less misogynistic. Nope. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't ever work that way. No matter how much white people laugh at your jokes and like your music, they will always hate you if you're black. If they're racist, of course, right? Hassan thinks, Dave thinks, I used to think and no, every single time they prove, they will not. It doesn't matter. And so I say to you, this idea, this want, this desire to just make good, to build coalition, to laugh together is not going to actually heal our wounds. People say that. Jake Paul said this about Drewski doing whiteface, Erica Kirk. He goes, I'm going to do blackface because we need to make fun of each other. We need to laugh with each other. No, that's not the kind of laughter I was thinking about. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Chet says the moment they stop laughing, it's back to business. Exactly. Once the joke is done, once I'm home from the comedy club, once I'm done watching the video, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. You have to understand you're attached to this outcome that doesn't explain like people. You're defying people, like the nature, our nature, and the way that it shows up in the world. Now, okay, I'm going to call out myself in just a second here, right? Because somebody called me out in the comments. They've been, and this is one of those examples. I always use myself as an example because I want you to know that I've been there, and I'm saying, this is why I do what I do. Okay, before I do, let's reset and remind ourselves why my work is the way it is. This is my focus. This is the only thing I care about. Well, I say that, but this is the fundamental thing I care about, because I think on the blocks of keeping children safe, you build a better society. All children, gay children, trans children, black children, brown children, Gaza children in Gaza, tall children, disabled children, all children. So like not in the conservative pro-life way where they're like, we care about children, but not if they're gay or black or like none of that. All children, all children, all children. Okay. So just watch this cute video from AJ Plus.
أوصف لك يا حبيبي الشاي شاي بالنعناع والسكر يا حبيبي يا شاي.
Siblings in Gaza drinking chai.
بتشوفوا لبس الثانية
They're siblings, so cute.
أوصف لك يا حبيبي الشاي شاي بالنعناع صبوا لي كاسة شاي بالنعناع خلوها
في كم قصة وحكاية لازم تسمعوها. شاب بعمر 20 ميل عند اللحام قال له لي جوعانين اعطيني شوية كباب قال له تكرم
لا من غير فلسطين شو يعني رجولة إلا يا رمانة.
Okay, right? Cute. We're not going to finish the TikTok because at the end there's a song and it's probably copyrighted. Cute. This is it. So I say to you how devastated I was to realize when I was given the chance, when Palestine was first mentioned in my comments, to in that moment freeze up and not be able to engage in the topic haunts me every day. That my biggest regret in the last 5 years, bigger than anything I've ever done, is not jumping on Palestine sooner when I had a track record of defending Palestinians for years. But the way that I have shifted and changed as a person, the amount of like how my brain works has also kept me away from staying diligent and on course. So you have to understand, like, that took so much self-reflection for me to realize, why did I do that? Like, why did I freeze up? Like, why couldn't I engage? And why was I focused on the patriarchy before I was focused on the child? Because remember, as much as I talk about patriarchy, which I think harms kids, first and foremost, I must be focused on children, right? So I got a comment that says, hey, I agree with you that we need to push as far left as possible and that electoralism and incremental change offered by Dems is not the solution. But I still don't exactly trust your credentials as someone on the left because of your horrific opinion on Aaron Bushnell. You were a fence sitter for 2 years saying you don't make political content, actively both-siding genocide, and acting like Aaron Bushnell was mentally ill, saying that he hopped between ideologies as easily as he breathed. I don't trust you. Okay, a couple of things, because I replied to them. First, I still don't make political content. Right? Like, I still don't make political content because political content is not what I'm doing here, even though we talk about politics, right? Like, I still don't make political content. Okay. 2, Aaron Bushnell is still a product of patriarchy. Men's only contribution to saving the world is to kill something, blow something up, or kill themselves. And I'm saying, how's this helping? Imagine I'm in a group of women and men and non-binary people, and we're trying to figure out as adults in the room how to help the community. And I'm like, you go feed kids, you go teach them math, you bring out the instruments. And then Aaron Bushnell's like, I'll set myself on fire. Who invited him to the party? Like, sir, you need, okay, youth therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will never think setting yourself on fire is helping people. So with peace and love, I'm sorry he suffered that way. And I truly am. And I responded to them saying the same thing. But that is unwise suffering. I will never, this cannot be anything but a patriarchal response to a feeling of, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? So again, like, I hear you. And also, like, Absolutely not. And also, I don't understand you were fence sitting for 2 years. I was not fence sitting for 2 years. I don't even know what that means, right? I know time is weird on the internet, but that was not true. It is not that way. I was focused on the patriarchal response to everything happening because people kept saying, do you support Hamas? I do not support men. Ever. Groups of men? Absolutely not ever. Not even to make a political point, right? Never. And just so you are clear, I have been very consistent with my views about war and how it is petty for years. Here's a video I made 11 years ago. Okay, here. 2014. Here's a video. It's just called Gaza. That's what it's called. It's just called Gaza. Just listen to this segment. Okay, hold on. Let me change the viewfinder. Oh, wow. This is filmed really old. You can tell it because look at the 2 bars on the side. You know, we've seen some... Okay, and also trigger warning for Brittany's autistic mode of speaking.
Devastating photos come out of Palestine. We've heard some devastating testimonials from people who are being interviewed on NPR. I mean, one of the representatives for Hamas was on there, you know, telling his side of what's happening. NPR did this really great thing where they went down there and talked to the people whose homes have been blown up. They even had one interviewer, I think on CNN, who was corresponding there on the Israel side, and when she commented on how disgusting the people of Israel in that specific crowd were for cheering the deaths of the Palestinians, she was, I think, fired, if not put somewhere else. In other words, she couldn't keep her personal disdain for them out of her reporting. And I understand that. That's very difficult. I mean, I personally am insanely angered that the U.S. supports Israel with no repercussion, as if 100% Israel is always right. And this is coming from someone that obviously thinks the...
Okay, right? I'm gonna go on to say, but you know, like all these men, all these sides, and it sounds like it's a both sides, right?
Holy
like,
war in fighting,
right? Like this holy war, the propaganda we learned from the U.S. Obviously, we've deconstructed that by this point, but that was 14 years ago. Here's 13 years ago. War is petty, right? Watch this. I can't help but feel like war is petty. Wow, the audio is so bad. Oh my god.
And the earth, I can't help but feel like war is petty. And I know a lot of you were like, oh, if war is so petty, maybe we should have gone to war with Hitler. War sucks. War is sometimes necessary. Though I believe with all my heart, it is less necessary than we have used it. And I understand we are more at peace now than we ever have been, but it is not an excuse. That does not make things okay. And I do not like striving for mediocre. If we do not strive to be better, we will never change the world, and we will always be content with mediocre. And I don't understand living in an existence where things are just okay. If we can't work to make sure that we believe in preserving and creating a sustained, beautiful life for those who are already here, then what is the point? And
okay, so like you can see that I've been relatively consistent. I've obviously become better at explaining my perspectives. And yes, I've gotten more attractive. Thank you, chat. Chat says the 30s is truly your hottest era. I know. It is, isn't it? Okay, now, fun fact about this video, crazy world, that skateboard behind me is signed by Kat Von D's brother. Because I texted him I tweeted at him one time, like, can I have that skateboard? I collect skateboards, and he sent it to me. So you should just know, Brittany has had contact with everybody and nobody at the same time. The most random story I could tell you about that skateboard, which I eventually threw away. But like, you know what I mean? I always liked collecting skateboard decks, and he was giving his away. I was like, can I have that? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And he sent it to me in the mail. Anyways, okay. All right. So I try to be consistent. So you must understand how devastated I was to, in that moment, have the absolute realization that when October 7th happened, I wasn't able to react 100% within my values. And so I had to sit there and ask myself, why was it so hard for me? Why did I have to read a book to get on board? And I did. I read the 100-Year War in Palestine. And right when I read it, I was like, got it, locked in. I'm locked in. I'm locked in. And why did I do that? So I really think this was the last time for me in this way. One, it really was a genuine trigger of PDA, which is autism is a disability. That's why I get a little annoyed when Hassan talks about like, oh, I'm autistic maybe. It is such a disability that in this moment of having an opportunity to fight for my values, I failed myself because of a biological experience. That was devastating. And then it takes me so long to melt down from that PDA that I finally was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I lock in? Now I have to introspect. What did I introspect into realizing? Okay, Brittany, your PDA is going to fuck you up politically, fuck you up with your empathy. It's going to fuck you up when opportunities show up. So now to fix this problem, every time you see a marginalized community or anything bad at all, any form of philosophical evil, absolutely not. And then we can do our due diligence to be nuanced, right? So when I see Hassan, okay, absolutely not. And then the nuance. When I see Basim, absolutely not. Then the nuance, right? When I see, any form of injustice, bombing, violence, horrible rhetoric, patriarchy, misogyny, absolutely not. Racism, absolutely not. Okay, so I understand the instinct to say, oh, well, she was 15. Okay, Madami's wife, she was 15. And I go, absolutely not. And then we can talk about the nuances of like existing and how to apologize to communities in an embodied way. But first we say absolutely not. Because our instinct is to go, well, because we want to jump to and you have to understand that we support Palestinians in hopes to stop the genocide, and then we can talk about the nuances of like patriarchy and homophobia and all the other things that are happening. And yet, while this is happening, there are people, women, standing up to the patriarchy within Islam, politics, everything else, because I understand the instinct. The instinct is patriarchy has been so embedded into every single part of us that the only response we have to injustice is to engage in that violence of patriarchy. Like setting yourself on fire. I don't even know what philosophical perspective that's going to benefit anyone, like in a way that is like long term, right? So here's this Muslim woman. I've been getting her TikToks lately. And like I say, even though ideally I think we should deconstruct from patriarchal religions, in my world, like Muslim women exist. In my world, like Muslim people exist, because like as long as it's rules for you and not for me, girl, I'm on board, right? Just like be chill, right? So this women's TikToks in particular, I love to see. Check it out.
Fuck about my reputation as a Muslim woman. I don't give a fuck about my reputation as a Muslim woman. I spent my whole life being what they said a good Muslim woman should be. I never partied, I never smoked, I never drank, I never took my hijab off, I never touched a man outside of marriage, I never had a rebellious phase, I never listened to music, I never whatever. I was the definition of what they say a good Muslim woman should be. And yet, when I try to expose a horny dawah bro for sliding into my DMs, the Muslim community tried to rip me apart and destroy my reputation. And that was the biggest wake-up call to me. That was the moment I realized this idea of our reputation is a tool, it's a construct used to control women. As Muslim women, we are heavily taught that our worth lies in how we are perceived, and that one little mistake, one mishap can destroy us forever. But let's look around. Muslim men can do the very things that we are warned against. They can lie, they can cheat, they can have a past of clubbing and sleeping around and smoking and drinking and have secret wives, secret families, and yet their reputation remains intact. What does that tell us? It tells us that this idea of our reputation is not about morality, it's about control. As a Muslim woman, your reputation can be destroyed for simply being a woman with full autonomy, which means it was never real to begin with. So stop living for how you are perceived to others, because the moment you stop living for their perception is when you can actually just live freely. I don't give a fuck about my...
And then she goes on to say, like, we're going to take basically Islam back for women, right? She said, I live by the few and easy law set by Allah and fuck everyone else. Okay, there you go. Like, she's saying, like this I can get behind. Right? And I'm like, decenter men, fuck the patriarchy, men are trash. Also,
النية خدت الكورة الأرضية بدك ثانية ضوئية تلحق ربعي بالأفكار. أنا اسمي مدرسة الأدب، أنا اسمي شاعر العرب، يا أكرم يا شدة خشب اصحاني لسنان المنشار. أنا أول مدرسة والكلمات مؤسسة، أنا زرعت النرجسي أو حملة رطب على الأوعار. أنا قلت لك حنفية أو هاجم على بحر المي اللي سادك شكت لي قدام سكين الجزار.
Okay, yes, they're literally having a sing-off. They're having a poetry sing-off. And then I'm like, you know what? You never mind. Like, okay, so right, this is like the dichotomy of man, really, the dichotomy of it all. Like, fuck patriarchy, decenter men, go fuck yourselves. Also, you know what I'm saying? And this is the problem, right? Now we talk about this in like Arabic rap battle, literally. And we talk about this, like we talk about music and misogyny used in lyrics. And by the way, their lyrics are very funny. Like it's like, hold on, let me see if I could read some of this to you. The lyrics are very poetry, you know. Let's see. It would take light years to reach a quarter of my thoughts. Oh, damn, that's crazy, bro. My name is the school of literature. My name is the poet of the Arabs. Let's see. They're so good. I don't know who this is. Oh, Karam, you piece of wood, beware the teeth of the saw. Oh, I guess that's his name. That's his name, probably. I am the very first school, the one who founded words. They are literally like, oh, like, you know, you're sitting there, you're like, that's funny, it's good. It's like, oh man, that, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, imagine if we just did this. Chat says, not my chat, their chat says, why can't presidents just do this instead of war? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine if we just had rap battles. Go. You know, like, do that instead. But no, everyone's like, I'm going to kill people. And I'm like, why? Even in the name of revolution, we kill people. It's like, damn, we can't get away from murder. We just can't get away from wanting to kill people. Now, okay, this all plays a role in how we have conversations about minority communities. Once again, having to, oopsies, hold on. I just deleted a video I was going to show you later. Hold on, let me bring it back up. This plays into how, once again, minority communities, vulnerable communities are made to feel like they are the ones who have to sacrifice and make exceptions. Well, these men make these decisions. You know what I'm saying? So she's saying, you know, I thought I was the perfect Muslim woman. I followed all the fucking rules, only for these men to turn around and shame me for calling out a man in my DMs, which is what happened. Okay, a man slid into her DMs and she said, absolutely not. And then they were mad at her for putting him on blast. See how women try to put men on blast and they go, you can't do this. It's bad for Muslims. It's bad for Muslim men. It's bad for his reputation. So when a man does something and we call it out, it's our fault. And I'm saying the left is not exempt of this. The left is not exempt of this. Okay? They're not exempt. You keep thinking they are, but they can't be. Okay? They can't be the exception. You cannot be the exception to propaganda. You can't say, like, well, I'm the one who's deconstructed all of propaganda and I'm never going to fall for it again. You see how I put myself on blast and I say 100%? I was wrong for this. And like it haunts me. Like, it's real. And I vowed to myself never again. And I have not, never again. I've been so good about it, right? And that's the point. Okay, so now I saw this comment discussion. Okay, great comment discussion says, this discussion makes me think about how Black Panthers collaborated with young patriot organizations. Many of their members were racist. Isn't this a good argument for allying with people on common issues, being working class, even when there are differences we don't agree? Can you tell me any long-term solutions or can you tell me in which way this solution gave us a long-term result? Right? So then a person replied and said, and I think that this was a really good reply. I think Brittany raises a good point. Where is the line? You make a good example with the Black Panthers and the Young Patriots. Another example, I think, would be how many Black women allied with misogynistic men within the Black Panthers to achieve their goals, only to be left out later on when they were no longer needed due to racism or sexism. Exactly. And how many Black women allied with the racist white women to gain leverage with the women's rights movement, only to be again left out when the initial goal was achieved due to racism, right? The way I interpret Brittany's point is that while all these kinds of allyships can achieve short-term goals, they will never result in long-term progress. Exactly, right? And it's shown time and time and time again that every time you ask us to make a concession, it sounds like we're more than willing, right? How many times have we done that? How many times have we done that and said, okay, yeah, we'll ally with you. You have more power than us. We'll ally with you. We'll trust you. We'll let you guide us, right? And how many of us women have also engaged in patriarchy saying, oh yeah, I trust the man to lead. Yeah, I'll believe a man could be a good leader. Like, internalized misogyny. How many of us have been pick-me's or struggled thinking like, oh, maybe a man is smarter than me, okay? And now, look at this. This is how it all connects, because I'm telling you it all connects. So all these people who think I'm really being bad faith, like, I hear you, I see you, I get why you think that. And also, once again, your opinions of thinking I'm bad faith to Hassan will never trump the amount of messages I get, the people in my communities. Again, because if I let Hassan be the focus of my attention, then I am doing the same thing I did when I was asked about Palestine. You just don't see it because you don't know how it relates. In that moment I was asked about Palestine, I abandoned my values because I was having a trigger. But more than that, I abandoned my values because I was unsure of my focus. Where should my focus be? And when you're unsure of your focus, you will end up taking the wrong side. You will do the wrong thing. And so in order for me not to do the wrong thing, I cannot lose the focus on Hassan. I cannot let him be a distraction to all of the people that are suffering day in and day out. I cannot let any of these men in power be a distraction to the fact that our communities are still suffering and always told, just wait a little longer. Just wait a little longer. Just, they were teenagers. I think even Hassan said that about her, that, oh, she was just a teenager, like whatever. Like she shouldn't have said it, but she's a teenager. Let me confirm. Hold on. Let me confirm before I say that because I don't want to misquote him, right? What's her name? I'm sorry. I still haven't learned her name. I have to learn people's names is hard. See, that's another thing that people think I'm doing on purpose. Learning people's names is really hard for me. So it takes me a long time to learn them. Hold on, let me find this TikTok. Rama. Okay, I will put this in my brain. Rama. If I can find you a TikTok so I can make sure I understood correctly. Where is it? I saw it. Let me see. No, not this one. Hold on, give me a second. Hassan Piker, Rama Dawaji. Okay, let's see. Tweets. Let me see if I can find it to make sure I'm not misquoting him. That's interesting. Why don't these things come up when I need them? Why do these things always struggle? I swear to God. Have you guys seen the clip I'm talking about? That's interesting. See, why do I struggle to find things? Why do I struggle? Why do I struggle? Why do I struggle? Okay, let's see. Is this it?
Dawaji, the wife of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, shared several posts glorifying Palestinian terrorism on all social media accounts that remain active. Dawaji also used the N-word. Oh, wait, what? This is what it is? If it does good for my cause, I'll be happy to accept death. The caption read, Khalid, longtime member of the PFLP, one of the coolest people of all time. A U.S. designated terrorist organization? Yeah, you, dude. Yeah, PFLP's awesome. Suck my dick. Imagine getting mad at a Layla Khalid repost. Like, what are we doing at this point? That's crazy. Uh-oh, another wife condemnation incoming is so funny. Oh, I hate my chud anti-Semitic wife. Once again, maximum support to Rama Dawaji, okay, in these trying times. I hate my based ass wife, dude.
But do you see how she said the N-word and just started laughing? You know what I mean? There was no pause to consider Black communities. There was like no pause to be like, damn, really? Why? It was just, you know what I'm saying? Like my homie.
This is part of the reason why I was saying like you can't give the Zionist lobby any room, dude. You can't. You just, because they're gonna come after you over and over again. They're gonna find you participating eventually in activities personally. You know. She was also like 16 for the N-word tweet that they found. Oh my God, they should put her in jail. New York City First Lady. First Lady Rama Dawashi used the N-word in an X post from 2013. Brother, it was not called X back then, okay? It was called Twitter, and it was in 2013. Oh my God. Tumblr included a post blaming white people for creating Al-Qaeda. True. And disparaging U.S. troops fighting abroad is not brave, nor are they fighting for anyone's freedom. Double true. Oh my God. The more I read about her, the more I'm like, she's cooler than Zoran. She's so much cooler than Zoran. It's crazy. Yeah, no, the N-word thing is like, yeah, she's 15. I don't give a shit, okay? And neither do you. Don't even act like this is don't try to come at me and be like, oh my God, it's not your place. Like, come on, okay? She was 15 fucking years old. If you're really gonna stress this, you're out of your dang mind, okay? In July 2015, New York City First Lady Rama Dawashi retweeted a thread that said, Tel Aviv shouldn't exist in the first place. Yeah. She's so awesome, dude. Oh, maybe she should have ran for mayor. New York City First Lady Rama Dawashi shared these images on our Tumblr account. Left, a Palestinian woman sewing a flag, caption photography. A Palestinian demonstrator sues a Palestinian Liberation Organization flag before a protest during the first Intifada. Can you shock your dog for me, please? I don't like dogs. No.
Okay, did I make my point? You know what I mean? Chess is pretty for no specific reason. Could you do the jock boy laugh? Guys, who cares about black people? That's what he's like. He's like, black people who? Stupid. It's so offensive. It's so offensive. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you really think, do you know what I'm saying? Come on, guys. This is the guy you made famous. Does this clip not make it clear? Hassan is popular because of white supremacy and anti-blackness. He's popular because of transphobia and homophobia. He's a white cis man who is a millionaire. He's everything the status quo loves, and he is popular because of it. You can keep praising him because of the work that he's doing with Dems, whatever, right? He can say he's anti-Democrat all he wants, but he literally will not in any situation, when given the opportunity, embody any form of empathy for minority communities in any way that says I have to trust him. Okay, I trust him to work with the Democrats. I trust him to look fashionable, and I trust him to give me that fucking laugh every time he thinks something is funny. Okay? Right? It's like, bro, it's just like, what? This is the problem. Like, I know people are saying, like, you keep making it about you, like, it's like, where is the empathy? I'm asking for embodied empathy for the very real struggle that plays into everything else that follows, that keeps structures in place. Like, don't you understand? We understand. I think every adult person I have met can absolutely have deep empathy for teenagers who say and do things that are inappropriate and unethical. But we don't say, oh, she was 16. We say, hey, let's talk about the fact that there are plenty of teenagers who never did this. And the question is why did some teenagers do it and some teenagers didn't? Now we have to intervene. We, as the adults in the room, have to stop teenagers. We have to say, hey, don't say that. Hey, this isn't like, you know what I mean? Like, no, like, let's talk about the pain you're causing when engaging in this way, socially, online, in public, where people can see. Let's talk about your friends, your family, people who might want to trust you, may want to be your friend. But now they're not sure, right? And there's a reason they're not sure. You're not signaling safety, and Hassan certainly isn't signaling safety. And now you wonder why there's plenty of, especially black women, at least the ones I see on TikTok, who don't like him, who sit there and go, and I sit there and go, and then on top, so there's layers to the distrust. And why wouldn't we distrust, right? So let me segue this into something that's related as well, because something that marginalized people and women, we engaged in the protest for femicide, right? We engaged with that earlier this year, and that was an amazing protest. It really did work. It brought some sort of awareness to people. It was so important. But notice that maybe in Hassan's bubble, he would say, like, this issue doesn't matter. Like, femicide is up, but, like, we have to focus on, like, American issues and capitalism or something. Or maybe he would say, like, yeah, that shit's important, but, like, we're busy fighting for Palestine. Or something like, hey, nobody's engaged. Because, like, again, we have to understand, right? There's so much coming out about women being targeted, but it's not just women. And so the center of it is ultimately life, children. And we don't mean this in a bioessentialist way, like, who has babies, who doesn't have babies. I mean to say the caretakers of society falls on the back of femme people, right? And yet they get none of the social credit, of course, right? Like examples. This is a silly example, but just stay with me here. You know how there's that clip where Hassan's mom's like making him food, or Hassan's mom lives with him and she's always doing stuff, right? Does Hassan do stuff, or no? Is Hassan's career also amplified and kept stable because of his mother's care in the house, or his mother's care of him as a child? Like, is Hassan because he did it alone? No, it's because the community rallied behind him. It's because he had people who helped him through a process, because he had an uncle, and heck, even some streamer friends. Like, Hassan didn't do it alone. But of course, Hassan is the person who gets the credit. But everybody gets the credit because nobody does it alone. Barack Obama said that. Barack Obama said, I didn't become president on my own. I had a community that rallied behind me. And so when we sit there and we examine ourselves in relation to community, it's so when you say Hassan is single-handed, what did that person say to me yesterday? He's single-handedly moving people to the left. Single-handedly? See, you're doing it again. You're pedestaling. You're pedestaling a single person. How is that communist? How is that class consciousness even? How is that even community-oriented? How can Hassan be the singular person, right? Okay? And that's the problem that Chet says, referencing Obama. I knew Brittany was a lib. Listen, okay? It's a good quote. Okay, now listen to this. There is a story going around about women's disdain for men and how women are growing more resentful of men. And then I want to explain to you how this all connects to this idea that, once again, and this hope for dismantling capitalism, which is a great goal. I love that goal, comes at the expense of minority communities. If your biggest person with a microphone laughs when he hears somebody said the N-word who wasn't black. He laughed. This is a distraction. You know, there's something about that. Now, I will even take it a step further. I'll take it a step further because I think it's going to show in that data I show you. But you know how we all agreed that the rapes that happened on October 7th do not justify genocide? Now I do secretly wonder if he actually doesn't care about rape victims, because he certainly doesn't care about black people. And now I do wonder a little bit. Now as a woman, I am starting to think, do you not actually care about those? Because I care about those rape victims. I'm devastated for those rape victims. And I agree it doesn't justify genocide. But now your inability to show empathy makes me wonder, does he actually not care? Like, does he see them as like pawns on a chessboard and they're just like a part of the process of liberation? Like, do these men see the death of women, the rape of women, the death of men, the rape of men as a part of the process of liberation? Like they just say like like people are going to have to die. People are going to have to be raped. Because that's now what it's starting to sound like. And I'm confused because I was being so good faith with him initially when he said those things. And I'm not saying any of those people who are weaponizing it against him are right? Like, I am not saying any of those Hassan haters are correct. I'm saying, is that what you're saying? Yeah, Chet says revolution over caring about rape. Maybe I see what you're saying. That's what I want to know. Because this reminds me of the Cesar Chavez stuff, where it's like his rape victims wanted to come forward and they told them not to because it was bad for the movement. And now Hassan is saying, don't let them weaponize this N-word moment because that's what they want. And so I'm hearing, wait. Because I was being so good faith that he can't possibly believe that. But now I'm like, he might just believe that. I don't know. I would like him to talk about that. Does he believe that? Does he think like some people will have to be raped for the revolution? Okay, let's watch this 2-minute clip and then I'm going to show you more things that help bring my line of thinking into the forefront.
Conducted the exclusive polling for this piece, and there are some really fascinating results. One of the starkest findings was how negatively young women feel towards men compared with the other way around. Can you unpack some of the stats for us, please?
Yeah, I think out of everything we found, this is what jumped out the most to me. I think we're very used to hearing about young men's negative views of young women's and sort of misogyny amongst young men. But this really struck me because we found that 72% of young men have a favourable view of young women, 7%, and not very many really, have an unfavourable view of young women. When it comes to women under 30, though, only 50% have a favourable view. The unfavourable view of men goes up to 21%. And then under 25 women, it's just 35% of young women who have a favourable view of men. And if you go into very favourable, we actually use positive rather than favourable. But if you say very positive, it's just 11% of under 25 women. So we are looking at an environment where young women feel a lot more negatively towards young men than the other way around.
It's really interesting because I think if you sort of as a casual observer of some of the discourse about sort of gender politics and particularly the manosphere, you'd assume that this sort of rift between young women and young men was driven by young men's opinions and behaviour towards women. Perhaps it is. We'll get more into the reasons behind some of these figures. But really, I mean, it's much more stark on the side of
Okay, so they go on to say that it's because of political divide, that most women won't be willing to date a man who votes for Trump, right? Or Palestine, Israel. If they're anti-Palestinian, they won't date them. And there's a judgment, a little bit, a shock, right? Why is that shocking? Now, the comment sections are really interesting, right? I have to admit, as a man, I'm waiting to hear how this was my fault. I was waiting to hear, but they are relieved that this video doesn't make them the fault. Like, oh, thank you for not blaming us for once. For the record, women have an unfavorable opinion of men as a whole because CNN just dropped what we already knew was true, but just dropped which we covered, a story about basically a rape school of 62 million users a month going on a website to watch women who've been drugged and raped. So we're a bit suspicious. Femicide is up. We get all of these men who claim they care about us, but for the sake of politics, our opinions, our problems come second, right? So, yeah, maybe we're a little put off by men at the moment as a whole, as a system. And it's not every individual man, because they also go on to say a lot of these women have boyfriends. Of course, we have fathers and sons as well. We also have friends that are men. But we might stop a friendship with somebody if they support or even give a red flag of anything like this, including being in a huge age gap relationship with somebody. Huge red flags. Why are you doing that? Okay?
About several news stories over the last 7 days that might be really hard to hear, including a U.S. congressman's alleged sexual assaults of multiple women, a renewed discussion over consent, a former lieutenant governor taking the lives of his wife and his own, and a bombshell investigation by CNN exposing a worldwide ring of men who systemically target and abuse their own wives. And that investigation is the main reason we're talking about all of this tonight. My executive producer, Dylan Dahlberg, and I spoke about this at length. And even though this is going to be extremely disturbing and hard to talk about, tough for a lot of people to hear, it's an important story that really needs to be talked about. Millions of men from all over the world collaborating on ways to drug and abuse the people they swore vows to love and protect, and teaching each other how to do it. The fallout from this investigation spreading like wildfire on social media. So here to unpack some of this for us is Dr. Tracy.
Now, what I want you to see is that it did. I'd love to see TikToks like this.
Step up and raise. As a man, I got to step up and raise awareness because we need to talk about this so-called Grape Academy that CNN just exposed. I mean, you can go online and read about it, and I suggest everyone to go look into it because it's very serious. These guys in these group chats are terrible human beings. They're teaching each other how to drug and rape their own wives and then swapping tips on how to get away with these criminal acts. And this is also patriarchy. And patriarchy is the old system that teaches men that from day one that women are property, that women are supposed to be objects and controlled for sex and status. And it's the same red pill system that teaches men that their manhood comes from dominating women and having power and control over them, whether it's in the home or in society in general. The ruling class, the billionaire class, and corporate media push hypermasculine toxicity, violence, and conquest to keep men chasing false power instead of fighting the real enemy, which is the capitalist billionaires who exploits all of us. So these men in these group chats, they aren't just monsters. They're what I call puppets of patriarchy.
Now, wait. This is why I caution Hassan from needing to be that masculine figure to bring men over, because now you're playing into patriarchy to make men to make men listen to you. So you're saying, let me be the masculine man that men believe because they are patriarchal. And I'm saying, no. I'm saying you're doing the same thing now. Now it's like, let me use racism to make white supremacists comfortable with me so they become less racist. No? You know what I mean? No. That's the problem. It's the engagement with the system while advocating against the system. And then they're saying, well, Brittany, we have to play with the system because how will people be better? And I'm saying, well, okay, again, you're doing this thing where like how many times, like as an example, right? I don't watch Hassan all the time, right? So I see it on occasion, maybe like twice a week, I might watch a video to kind of keep up, right? I'm going to give the audience a chance here. Did he cover the femicide? Did he cover the growing numbers? Did he cover this story from CNN? I'm assuming he did because it was a very popular story, right? I'd like to think he did. Or is this kind of like a distraction? Or is it more like a shock factor? Because like this is really serious, and this also plays into, I hope it makes him stop and think about how I show up in the world, right? But Hassan is just an idea. He's not even a real person, which is what I was trying to say earlier for that person who was criticizing me. Like, I'm not making stuff up about Hassan. He's not tangible. How can you be tangible and like this big guy, right? How many times are we going to learn that, like, how many videos are we going to see of people acting different behind closed doors? Again, I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying just based off of what's out in the open. It's like, again, we're not accusing him of anything. We're saying be cautious given the circumstance. And also given that he just laughed about the N-word so casually. And apparently my chat is saying, oh, if you keep watching, he starts yelling at people as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, now the truth is that it does sound like he's saying minority people don't matter for the greater good. Right? Chet says, please keep watching the Hassan clip.
I can't, but I can shock you. Please. Right? A Bangladesh postage stamp featured an armed terrorist with the slogan, "We salute the valiant freedom fighters of Palestine." On International Women's Day, New York City First Lady Rama Dawji retweeted a post praising Shadia Abu Ghazaleh, another PFLP terrorist. Yo, she was riding hard for PFLP. Ghazaleh participated in the bombing of an Israeli bus and led several other terrorist attacks. Ghazaleh was killed in 1968 when a bomb she was building in her home, which she intended to use to blow up a building in Tel Aviv, exploded accidentally. New York City First Lady Rama Dawji, we already saw the N-word thing. Tumblr included a post blaming white people for creating Al-Qaeda. Again, correct. For more, you can read the full story here. This is just cyber stalking masquerading as investigative journalism. By the way, John Levine is a stalker-ass obsessive weirdo. Finding tweets from 2013 when she was 15 years old. Her Tumblr account. What the f is wrong with you, dude? I know. What would the perfect Zoran response to this be? I condemn my chud wife. I am divorcing her immediately, and I am marrying my true love, the nation state of Israel. Oh, my wife's views were detestable. I despise her. She is no longer my wife. I will now be marrying Laura Loomer instead. Please stop yelling at me. I just want to give ADUs to all New Yorkers so we can alleviate the real estate crisis that is facing. But yeah, this is why you don't deal with these losers. Okay? This is why you don't deal with these losers.
So to be clear, he doesn't think he should say something about his wife saying a slur, but he thinks he should go on Sean Hannity's podcast. Like, Hassan wants to go on Sean Hannity's podcast, right? But he doesn't think the mayor of New York should make a statement and engage with the fact that these tweets existed, ? Chat says stream is pretty choppy for me. It's YouTube, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry.
Simple. They're never going to stop because the point of this is not like, a sincere confusion that must be addressed. It's just to like talk shit. Never cave. Yeah, never cave. Those views are reprehensible and don't represent her anymore. If he says that, I will lose my mind, dude. The only thing that's like even remotely worthy of like scrutiny would be the N-word thing. And even then she was 15. Don't address it, please, for the love of.
He's just said, don't fucking address it. He said, and even then she was 15. This isn't an embodied understanding of how racism starts with children. Children have got to be the focus of our education and our focus of liberation. When we don't focus on our kids, when we don't intercede as quickly as possible, our kids grow up to be racist. Our kids, without the right intervention, you know what I'm saying? So like, we need to do this. We need to encourage our children, right? Okay? So the fact that he said this is just, it's difficult. It's a difficult thing. Yeah, Chet says, does he not think black kids exist too? Thank you. That's exactly what the black community has been saying. They're like, hey, we're also kids. Our kids have to hear these words. Our kids are bullied. They're forced to self-harm. They're forced to suicide. Like our kids are also being targeted. Like, doesn't he understand that, like, you know what I mean? So he doesn't think about it. That's what I'm saying. The center of our focus should be children. Children. Because they're everything. And the fact is, he doesn't care about those kids. No, most people don't. That is the point of matriarchy in some shape or form. And maybe we should use a different word, but the philosophy of matriarchy that I understand, the better one, is not that it's an opposite of patriarchy, but that it's a center on life, the center of the community, the center on the children. The idea is that we should be focusing on like literally nonviolence out of reaction to like, this doesn't help us. This just causes more violence. He is contributing to basically more racist violence against kids. Right? So there's a struggle here because I'm like, how do you not see it? But then what we've learned from these communist Marxists, the people we've been learning from, which is, you know, again, I'm okay with the framework. I'm not anti-communist or something, but the framework is your anti-racism. It can't start there. It has to start at anti-capitalism, and anti-racism isn't our focus. It's like, okay, but while you're busy fighting capitalism, people are still being killed. Like people are still being harmed. Like people are still suffering. So will you say like she was 15, it doesn't matter? You know what I mean? There's that, right?
Of Christ, for the love of Allah, for the love of the 12th Imam, okay? For the 12th Imam, the hidden Imam, please. I don't know, you're Shia. I'm trying to appeal to the Shia thing, okay? Please. What would you do if he said the Cuban government is oppressive? I mean, he's probably, I don't know what he will say about the Cuban government, if at all, if he'll say anything at all. I've been left officially on red at this point on things like that. So he has said it already, but I'm saying now he could have a different take, a different approach.
Billionaires are mad that Mamdani's about to tax the out of them, and they're using
Zohar's can't be president, but Rama can. Yeah, she should. She should run for president. Wait, what the Ben Shapiro posted about me on his Facebook page. Limousine socialist Hassan Piker, yet another millionaire streamer who cosplays as a Maoist. Wait, what? I don't cosplay as a Maoist. What the is this pose, bro? Limousine socialist Hassan Piker, yet another millionaire streamer who cosplays as a Maoist and allegedly electrocutes his dog, is going to Cuba. Oh, he had to slam that allegedly in there. I hope he has a good time. It may be his last chance to see Cuba before capitalism rescues it from its horrific poverty and suffering. I hope they keep him in prison so we can understand how all Cubans feel. What a freak. Yeah, right here.
This video was posted
Check
4 weeks ago.
You have to see this. This is how Zoran would answer. Please look at this.
Zoran Mamdani is in big trouble because he is no longer recognized as the only leader of New York.
Dude, what the we've seen this already. This is so... The Cuomo-tang.
The Kuomintang are right.
This is so dumb. There was a discussion about Zoran's views at Cuba at the DSA. DSA speaker at CUNY Cuba conference.
Do you guys want me to... Do I have to keep watching? Is there something else you want me to see? You said it gets worse? Hold on. Let me see. Let me forward the Cuba stuff.
DSA has older activists seem oblivious to how central DSA has been.
Let me see.
Why the that I'm going to be very sad about like how much poverty we've brought about try to make it illegal into keeping piss you off though. There's a likelihood that you won't be able to stream. Don't worry about that. Able to do streams. Zoran's wife exposed for being a racist piece of shit. Hassan calls it Israeli propaganda lol. Actual brain dead. Yeah, look at the Hasbara bots, dude. All roads lead to Rome X. Crusades are now X. Crusader guy locally defending, taking a principled stance. How malleable are dumb people, man? How malleable are people who are supposed to be kind individuals, dude? Actually, God. So you are defending what she said? That's what it sounds like? Oh my God. You can be against Israel and being counted against what she said. I'm telling you right now, sincerely, once again, I don't give a I don't care. If you think I'm a goddamn white supremacist for that reason, suck my dick, okay? I don't care that Zoran's wife, that you never would have heard of when she was 15 years old, used the N-word with a soft A like 13 years ago. Are you out of your mind? And now it's being utilized and deployed so that dumb like you can chirp about it? Are you stupid? Do you have no critical thinking skills? Do you not comprehend that you are being manipulated? You're being manipulated. God damn, dude. What the It's a up. Talk to me if she's still slinging it right now, okay? That's a different equation. Bro, we do not need the CIA. This is why we have outsourced it. We have outsourced the CIA. People have become agents of the American and the Israeli State Departments on their own. They are taking it on their own. God damn, this shit is so stupid. Some of the most racist institutions on the planet can just literally shove their hands up your asshole and move your mouth like a flesh puppet at their behest on a moment's notice. What the Why are you doing unpaid government labor? At least let him cut you a check, dude. Holy The same government that defended apartheid South Africa and spied on black activists on U.S. soil, spied on Jewish students that were participating in anti-apartheid activities on U.S. soil, is now literally duping you into being like, yeah, well, this like advocate against Israel is cancelable. And the guy who's doing that literally said this, by the way, my closing message to voters that Israel should have bombed more hospitals and the famine was a hoax. Thank you. I love when will turn around. I love when turn around. Well, actually, two things can be right at the same time. No, the fuck I can't. Shut the fuck up. Enough. Why can't you justify American military intervention in Iran by claiming that the Iranian government is the greatest evil of all time while simultaneously saying American intervention shouldn't exist? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a idiot, okay? Maybe I don't have the same stupid brain that you do, you know? Hassan, why can't you say the Cuban government is starving its own people while then also saying that America shouldn't be starving the Cuban population as well? I don't know, because I'm not stupid. Have you thought about that? Maybe you're stupid and I'm not. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe because I look at the institutions that are cynically advancing these goals for a very deliberate reason so that anyone who's ever stuck their neck out ever for any cause beyond their own selfish desires doesn't get ridiculed ritualistically on the timeline. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe you should stop being a pussy too. Have you thought about not being a selfish Amerifat for once in your life? No, you can't. You can't do that.
And pussy too.
God damn, dude. It's unbearable. Of course it's unacceptable to say the N-word, dumb fucks. But if there's a propaganda campaign that's being launched at the behest of the apartheid state to actively undermine public advocates for Palestinian emancipation, yeah, I'm gonna balance it a little bit, okay? I'm gonna judge evenly. Which one is a worse crime, you think? Please, seriously, what is a worse crime? It's the same shit when people are like, oh my God, this person is being anti-Semitic. It's like, yeah, I know, it's unacceptable, but like, can you lock in for once? Like, can you see what's going on? Please, Jesus Christ. Every single thing has to be couched. Every single thing has to be couched with a million different considerations. Like, you're talking about a child, bro. A child. God damn. Bro, a large majority of the online harassment you've received over the last 6 years has literally been because you think the N-word is bad. I know. America's starving Cuba and Gaza while bombing Iran and having its racist attack dog ethnic.
Okay, we get it, right? And I get it too. And I think this is the dilemma. This is why I don't do politics, though. The reason I don't do politics is because, right, I don't want to have to say, that's what people are mad at me. Like, don't make fun of, don't criticize Hassan. There's a propaganda smear against him. So Hassan says, don't, go after her because there's a smear. And I'm saying, I don't do politics. I'm into ethics. I'm into philosophy. I want to move people in the right direction morally. If they want to be less bigoted and harbor, you don't have to, by the way, you don't have to agree with my morals. But if you agree with my morals or we share morals or we have overlap with like right or wrong, and we want to express that in an ethical way, then we would say like a heartfelt, deep embodied apology could have healed a lot of people and moved us forward. But because you don't allow communities to heal, they will feel unsafe. And then it's like, see how it happens again, where it's like, hey, put aside your feelings for the greater good once again. But this is the greater good. And it's like, why? And this is happening over and over again and again, like, I get what he's saying politically, but I don't get what he's saying ethically. I don't want to get he's saying, like, he's not solving the problem. And that's what Basim does when he says, let's pair up with Tucker Carlson. He's saying for the greater good of who? Of who? And I'm saying I would like the greater good to be for humanity and not just, so it's interesting when they say they want the greater good for humanity and not just identity politics. But then at the same time, like, you're not really moving people in that direction. You're basically allowing them to say, yeah, when I was young and I was like racist, it wasn't a big deal. No, it was always a big deal. And we're going to accordingly accept that young people make bad decisions. And also it might carry on into your adulthood, but it was also bad. Like, I think the dilemma is people don't want to feel judged for what they did as teenagers, but they also don't want to be judged for what they did as adults. And then you don't want to be judged for what you did at 65. And then you just never want to be judged. And I'm saying, without condemning you, I have to, with discernment, say, I can't have you on my show. So now do you see why I definitely can't have Hassan on my show? How would the community, the black people in my community, would you feel comfortable with him coming on? Or would that not feel like a slap in the face to all the work we do here? And how am I supposed to protect the people in my community if I bring this man on? You know what I mean? Not to mention the women in my community, or you know what I mean? Like I can't. Like, it feels like a slap in the face to everything we've been working on as a group. So no, he can't come on my show. You know what I mean? Like, he can't come on my show. I'm sorry. And so that's what it is. Chess says, hell no. And that's the point. That's why. So the other day when I said, like, I can't have Hassan on my show, he's like kind of dangerous. People are like, what does that fucking mean? Like, what does that mean? Well, you know? Yeah, Chad says he thinks expecting accountability will ruin her life, but that's not the case. Or even worse than that, he thinks it will derail all of our politics away from, will be a distraction. But all he has to say, I forgot her name again. Man, Rama. All Rama has to do is, her response was bad. I reject it. But all she had to do was say the community. This is the same complaint we have every time. Say the community's name. Say it with your chest. Don't give me a PR statement. And all she did was give us a PR statement. So reject. I reject you. Because no. Now, you want to talk about harm reduction voting? That's harm reduction politics. That's what Hassan is engaging in. This is harm reduction politics. So it's interesting that they're always talking about harm reduction politics is bad, but like, what is that? So in my mind, right? Now, let me turn this around once again and explain to you the news this week has been absolutely horrendous, okay? Absolutely horrendous, especially as it pertains to sex crimes against women and or men being unable to do anything but kill their wives, right? Men being arrested finally for engaging with minors. The community has to rally just to even get justice. You know what I'm saying? So when we have these conversations, remember, it's all connected. And it's why some of us are like, I don't know about this. You know, like, I don't know about this particular way of showing up. And so again, for those, I saw a TikTok from a woman who said, you know, I really think Hassan's going to run for office and he's gearing up for it. He might. He's definitely acting like a politician, let me tell you. That response to the N-word was the same thing as Gavin Newsom in my mind, responding to like trans people in sports, or Kamala Harris responding about trans people in sports. It gave like, I'm going to throw the minority under the bus for the greater good. And once again, no. So first story I want to cover with you, huge trigger warning, just very important. It's very recent. It's posted 3 days ago. The family wants to bring awareness to it. I just want to show you, it's super trigger warning, incest, murder, bad things, okay?
Young woman's cry for help, a shocking arrest, and a family's fight for justice. Tonight, why her loved ones say they won't stop until her voice.
Damn, how low is that audio, guys? Is that really, really low? Hold on. Gosh, why do people post YouTube videos and not work on their audio? Is that really low? Let me try to get a better video. Shoot. I should have tested it better. That's so frustrating. Oh, no. It looks like they're the only ones covering it right now. Fox News 11. Fuck. Let me see if I can find a story on it. Hold on. I'll read you a story. Because that's crazy. Okay. Let me read you the story really fast and said. It looks like Yahoo has it, which is, you know... It's so crazy because the story is so new. I wonder if people just aren't covering it just yet. It says, California dad charged with incest after allegedly assaulting daughter. DA may drop the case though. Okay, so let me go down here. On the night Michaela was taken to the hospital, Sandoval says Chavez sent her a text message and it read, I'm never drinking liquor again. I don't want that blackout to happen again. Now the family says they've been dealt with another devastating blow, according to Crystal. The Ventura County DA's office has told them that the case may not go to trial because Michaela is no longer alive to testify. The DA was essentially saying, we don't know if we have a case because she's no longer here. And when she told me that, I immediately said, no, we're not going to let this slide. Determined to get justice, Crystal took to social media. Her videos went viral, drawing widespread outrage and prompting hundreds to promise to show up to Chavez's next court hearing scheduled April 21st. It was like he took her sunshine away and just kind of broke her soul. Let me actually look on TikTok and see if that's where she's posting her videos, because this is exactly what I say when I say women in the community rally, okay? Men in the community take advantage of their daughters, and women in the community rally to save their lives even after they've died, right? So that's why I wanted to this is why I wanted to show you this story, because I do think people, they really take it for granted in so many ways, right? And I'm so frustrated once again. So let me see if I can show you this. Hold on, it's muted.
Such a sweet, loving, kind person.
When Michaela Renee Settles turned 18, she moved from North Carolina to Moorpark, California to live with her biological father, Stephen Vincent Chavez. 2 days later, her family says she called, terrified and asking for help.
It was just the fear in her voice, her crying. You know, I didn't need details. I knew something was wrong, and I sent him on the way.
Still in town, Carolina Sandoval says she rushed to Chavez's home, desperate to find out what was wrong with her daughter. When she saw her, it broke her heart.
She's just like, she's barely walking. Like she's just, you know. And so finally, like, my brother literally, like, just picks her up, like, he hugs her.
Michaela was taken to a hospital and a rape kit was performed. According to the family, the results came back positive for Stephen Vincent Chavez's DNA. He was arrested that same night, charged with incest, taking advantage of a position of trust, and providing alcohol to a minor. Her cousin Crystal Sandoval was in shock.
I was screaming, I was crying. I just kept thinking, why would he do that to her? Why would he do that to her? I knew that this wasn't something that she could come back from.
Crystal was right. 5 months later, Michaela died by suicide.
Such a sweet, loving.
Do you know what I'm saying? Be very careful when you ask people to, quote, put differences aside, because you don't know who you're putting differences aside with. And I am disgusted, and I am so proud of the women in that community for doing what it took, because the government wasn't going to do it and the men in this community weren't going to do it. Her own father, bro, died of, and then she had to take her own life. Can you imagine? Can you even, like, you should be so angry for the world right now. You should be so ready to feed your community and help your community, because, oh my God. Okay. Some relieving, but also some frustrating news that the singer David was finally arrested in connection with the murder of Celeste. Finally.
Welcome back. We are getting some more breaking news tonight right here in Los Angeles. The LAPD has arrested the singer David, who's also known as a 21-year-old David Burke, for the murder of...
Also somebody who's collabed with a lot of YouTubers, also somebody who has connections, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to do something about these situations, and we really need to stand up and say, stop. You got to stop hanging out with kids. You've got to start protecting children. She was 14. You have to protect these kids.
Celeste Rivas. Now, this is a major update in an investigation into the death of a 14-year-old whose decomposed body was found in the trunk of David's Tesla last September. Let's bring in NBC's Camila Bernal, who's been following this one for us. This is a huge update. And for everybody that's been following this case since the discovery of the body in David's Tesla, the big question has always been, why has he not been named a suspect? And today he's arrested.
Yes, and I can't tell you why it took so long, but he was arrested today on suspicion of murder. He has not been charged. So this is going to be presented to the DA on Monday. So we might get some charges on Monday. And it's serious because obviously we know it's on suspicion of murder. So he might be charged with murder. We knew that they had done interviews. We knew there was a grand jury. We knew they had canvassed for video in the area, but they never arrested him, like you mentioned. And everybody sort of questioned this in terms of, yeah, she was in his Tesla. It was his car. Why is he not arrested quickly? And he wasn't. And we don't have an answer as to why, but we do know that he had been the focus of this investigation because of the relationship, because of his Tesla. And months and months later, we now have this arrest.
And we're looking at some of that video right there. The body was found in that impound lot, but the car was found not in that impound lot. It was towed there after being parked somewhere in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, so they found her body in September, but authorities do believe that she was killed sometime in the spring. So her body had been in that trunk of the Tesla for a long time. It actually was discovered because it smelled so bad in that car and in that the tow yard. Someone essentially just walking by noticed a really horrible smell, and that's how authorities found her body. It had been decomposed. It was in horrible shape, and she was identified through forensics. You know, so it wasn't like they were able to get a lot of clues from the body. So that's probably also a reason why it took investigators so long, because it's hard to piece together that information when you have a body that has been sitting in the summer in Los Angeles in the front of a car for months and months and months. And so they were trying to obviously piece everything together. Hopefully we'll get more information, because all we knew was that they had some sort of relationship, but we don't know a lot of what led us here.
Yeah, and yeah, this is one of those cases. It's a high-profile case in Los Angeles. LAPD is very tight-lipped, no suspects named, and yet on the side, on social media, all online, like there are thousands and thousands of people that are following this case very closely and start their own investigation. So I imagine that complicates things. There's going to be some truth to some of what people have found. There's going to be some confusion.
And hopefully we'll get those details on Monday, because if we have charging documents, we'll have some of the evidence that police are actually looking into. And we did get some information from sources, but you're right. LAPD was very tight-lipped in terms of what actually happened here.
Yeah, hopefully some resolution soon.
Devastating, just an absolutely devastating situation. And so, like, I say to you again, like, we have to understand that it's all connected. It is all connected, you know, and it's connected to even the fact that it was happening, even to the fact that, you know, we talk about celebrity culture. Why was a 14-year-old hanging around adults, and why did no adult in that situation do something? But even more than that, we need to, and I know capitalism won't let you. This is, okay, can I just say something that I know sounds so like, capitalism objectifies the artist to create a fandom so the fans think they have a closer or possible chance of being with the star, right? David utilized his situation of prominence to basically move in on somebody in the neighborhood, somebody he knew, or somebody who was a fan of him, right? To use his stage power to basically have people turn a blind eye to the fact that this 14-year-old girl was there, right? To basically like allow a circumstance to happen in which the lines were so blurred, nobody in their right mind said, hey, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? Right? Okay. There's layers on this, right? This is happening in YouTube land as much as anywhere else, because David also collabed with YouTubers, right? He did a lot of collaborations. They have people featured in his music videos. Like there's a lot there. It's the same thing as that parasociality that says, hey, make thirst cam traps of me, right? Like this is why I say of Hassan, stop encouraging your viewers, stop posting photos of you in a towel. Like now somebody asked me, why can't Hassan be a fuckboy and a political commentator? Because fuckboys are unethical. Fuck boys are basically rapists, because fuck boys lie, often spread STIs, often get girls pregnant and abandon them. Fuck boys, the fuck boy aesthetic, whether you're a lesbian or a man, ends up breaking hearts. It's basically like sexual assault with a good haircut. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to be very careful with this idea of why can't he be both? Because being a fuck boy is unethical. It's bad. It's not good. That's why it's a red flag when someone looks like a fuck boy. Because usually fuckboys leave in a wake destruction, okay? So again, like you have to be very careful about this idea of why can't they? No, you might say, well, why can you be a sex worker and a politician? I don't think you can be an unethical sex worker and a politician in the sense that you can't be a leftist politician. So, or a political commentator. So as an example, like I make adult content, but I'm an artist, 1, and 2, I make amazing art, and 3, I'm not a political commentator, and I'm not an activist. But if I was, I'd be a sex worker activist. If I was, I would advocate for the dismantling of patriarchy and uplifting of freedom for all sex workers. And I would also point out how sex workers are their own bubble. I probably wouldn't even be the best spokesperson for it. I'd probably get all my sex worker friends who are better and more eloquent and smarter than I am to also be involved, because the type of sex work I do is by definition sex work, but it's also more art adjacent, meaning it doesn't involve myself in the industry. I don't want to engage in the porn industry. I don't want to talk to patriarchal systems. I don't want to engage in I'm more from a nudist perspective versus like a capitalist sex worker perspective. Most of these OnlyFans girls who are the top earners are also capitalists. I'm not a capitalist OF girl. That's not my identity. My identity is nude artist, adult creator, but my focus is not the capitalism. My focus is the creation. That's why I posted a lot of my nude art for free all the time. That's why I don't go after people who share my OnlyFans stuff. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm all, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I'd like to make money from my work. And also, like, I'll find a way. You know what I mean? Like, I'll figure it out. It's, you know, it's on them to be unethical, to steal my work and post it. That's on them, right? But it would also be like, again, it's about building a society that says we value people's consent. So they're the ones violating my consent by coming to my paid thing and sharing it, right? That's bad. You shouldn't do that. And also, you know, like, I have other things to focus on. You know what I mean? If you want to steal my nudes and post them on Reddit, I mean, it actually brings me more business. So joke's on you, I guess. I don't know. Who cares? The point is that I'm not a capitalist. So I'm not focusing on lying to people, pretending I'm their girlfriend. I don't even answer DMs on OF. Like, I answer DMs for like, hey, here's a tip. And I go, thank you for the tip. I even tell people in my OF DMs, like, hey, I don't have conversations with people. Okay. So like, you're not going to be able to pay your way into having a conversation with me, right? These are ways that I would show up as, so Hasan can be an ethical sex worker and a political commentator, but he can't be a fuckboy and a leftist. He can't, you know, at least not a progressive, intersectional, ethical leftist, right? So again, when we're having these conversations, and I think this is the problem, is that there is an allowance, because he's quote doing so much good, to allow him to get away with a lot of these things, because you know, there's that whole TikTok I showed you yesterday about people saying like, oh, I really want to fuck him. Everybody wants to fuck him. And people who hate him, it's because they want to fuck him. This is the whole Myron Gaines problem. People always say Myron Gaines is gay. That's why he hates women. Myron Gaines just hates women. I think he's so mad he's straight that he wishes he was gay, but he's not. He hates women. He's a misogynist. Men don't have to be gay to hate women. You have to be very careful about this rhetoric, because what you're doing again is you're taking away the agency from these men to say like, this is sexism or misogyny. You are engaging in a level of entitlement and you're encouraging it, right? So Hasan doing his, was it GQ? He did the bathtub picture. You know what I mean? That's crazy, right? Chet says calling Hasan a fuckboy with zero evidence is absolutely wild. I don't even know how to answer that question. Do you not think he's a fuckboy? Do you literally think Hasan Piker is not a fuckboy? You think he's not even slightly fuckboy adjacent? Do you know what I mean? You don't even think he's slightly fuckboy adjacent at all?
How attractive is Hasan Abi? Hasan. This is apparently. I have a question. I don't know if I'm the only person who feels this way, if I'm crazy or.
Your fantasy.
You don't like eating pussy? Wait, that's wild. I love eating pussy. I hate dressing up, so undressing after wearing a suit is so freeing. Yeah. Your favorite daddy. Favorite streamer. Been a good girl. Get gifted a sub too if you're lucky. There's a 3-minute ad break now. That's why I'm saying I'm going to be authoritarian, okay? I'm going to be authoritarian right now. Let me tell you something. I am going to in an authoritarian manner, I'm going to force free healthcare on you. I'm going to force free healthcare. That's sweet, sweet free healthcare on you.
Today we're going to be rating popular
I'll start using my body like a song.
Do it.
Okay, do you get the point I'm trying to make? You know what I'm saying? That's all fuckboy branding. All of that is fuckboy branding. It doesn't matter if he disagrees with it. That is fuckboy branding. You know what I mean? Okay, so again, I feel like that's the evidence. I'm not making an assumption. You know what I mean? There you go. Happy? And by the way, all I Googled was Hasan. What did I Google? I think I Googled Hasan, like sexy or something. Boom. Okay? You know, Chet said flirting is bad now. It can be. See, this person's unserious. You're getting blocked. Okay? You're getting blocked for being ridiculous because I don't think you're serious. Like, I don't think you're serious. Okay? All right? You're done. Because no, like, you know, you can't be serious right now. Don't be like, oh, is flirting bad now? Oh, is this stuff bad now? You know, Chet says you're making an assumption that he's unethical. Ethics are subjective. I'm making, guys, pause. In Britney's bubble, through my ethical framework, he is unethical given his position of power. That's what I'm saying. Do you guys not see like how inappropriate this type of branding is given his positioning? Like, I don't understand. Like, are we not deconstructing the patriarchy or what? Are we not deconstructing like inappropriate use of power from content creators to their audiences? Do you know what I mean? Are we not doing that or what? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that. Like, think about that idea, right? And by the way, like, it doesn't, I'm saying, okay, so first with, okay, what would it take? How do I explain this? You would have to first think, what would it take for him to decide to lean into this branding? Like, notice that I'm cutting it off. Notice that I'm like, I'm not going to engage in this. Like, you know, even if like I was on a show, to engage in the behavior is to amplify the focus of being his looks and the objectification of his aesthetic, right? And then you add the extra layer of people wanting to be with him. And then you add the extra layer of the victim blaming that will follow. Because the audience, people say, oh, the audience wanted him though. So if Hassan is ever caught, if anything ever happens, right, he's building and participating in the perfect recipe for this thing to happen. And I'm saying, do not participate in the fantasy that your fans want to fuck you unless you understand that it absolutely contributes to the things that happened with all other creators that add to the Saikunos and the Davids. Just because it hasn't ended up in rape and murder doesn't mean it is exactly the pathway that they created to make it happen. I'm saying this is the stuff that people say, what's wrong with some flirting? What's wrong with them liking their fans? What's wrong with them sliding into DMs? And I'm saying, don't. Okay, don't. And yes, on the audience's side, they also have to think about these things. Look, somebody in my chat said, Brittany, like, to be honest, when I was 19, I sent Hassan nudes, and I really wanted to believe that I would get validation if he gave me the attention. Please stop sending streamers your nudes. And also, Hassan is encouraging that by making this kind of content. And I'm saying, stop. Okay? As I am an adult worker, and I tell people all the time, do not send me nudes. Because you're not entitled to send me nudes because I'm a sex worker. You cannot send me nudes. I don't want to see them. And I'm saying that is the difference. I need Hassan to say, stop sending me this shit. It's not funny. It's gross. Okay? Stop sending me this shit. Okay? So you gotta be able to understand, like, you can't send people that shit. And he's got to make sure that he's telling people it's unethical. But the boy bubble, guys, sneak peek into the boy bubble, they put your nudes in a folder and share it with their friends. If Hassan doesn't put it down, then what he's subconsciously sending to his audience is that it's good. If he does not, with his full chest, tell people, hey, it is a violation of my consent. It is really fucking disgusting, and I'm ashamed of you. I'm grossed out by your behavior. Stop sending me your fucking nudes. Then what the audience hears is Hassan likes it. Goes, girls send me their nudes. You know, that's the subtweet, if you will. That's the subconscious thing that's moving in the background. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm saying we have to work together to create an environment where nobody has to say, when I was 19, I sent Hassan a pic or my nudes. I would love it if you never had that story be your story. And I'm so sorry that's your story, because that absolutely it stems from the patriarchal system in place that tells you your validation comes from a man saying you're pretty. Decenter men. Decenter men. Decenter men. Okay? And that's what I'm saying. Devastating story out of Virginia. Happened this morning. Justin Fairfax kills wife and dies by suicide. His teen had to make the 911 call. It's all connected. It's all connected.
Tonight, Virginia's former lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, a one-time rising Democratic star, dead, accused of shooting and killing his wife and then turning the gun on himself.
Self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Police say Fairfax and his wife Serena were found dead from apparent gunshot wounds. The shootings reported by their teenage son.
One of the children was the 911 caller just after midnight.
This tragedy comes amidst a contentious divorce. Court records show Fairfax was ordered to vacate the family home where the murder took place by April 30th. The court had also awarded Serena full custody of their children as she showed the court evidence that her husband had become a detached alcoholic. They were scheduled to appear in court on Monday for a trial to divide their assets.
Former Lieutenant Governor Fairfax was recently served some paperwork associated with an upcoming court proceeding that apparently led to this incident last night.
According to court documents, Fairfax's struggles with mental health and alcohol abuse started when he was accused of sexual assault in 2019. At that time, Fairfax was in the midst of a bright political career. But then a scandal broke. A photo with a caption attributed to then Governor Ralph Northam showed a man dressed in blackface, the other in a Ku Klux Klan robe. Northam considered resigning, which would have led to Fairfax taking over. But then two different women accused the lieutenant governor of sexual assault, leading to calls for his resignation. Fairfax never left office and vehemently denied the accusations, but never recovered politically.
How disappointing is it to see it come to an end this way?
You never know what's going on in any family. He was an enormous talent, and I just can't imagine what his family's going through.
Ryan joins us now. And Ryan, police say Serena Fairfax recently had cameras installed in their house. That's right, Tom. And police say they used the footage from those cameras to refute claims from earlier this year by Justin Fairfax that his wife had assaulted him. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on.
Just like really devastating story, you know, just a horrible all around situation. And it's going to happen again and again and again and again until we get to the root of what is happening. What is going on with people? Why do we hear story after story after story? And by the way, we're not done. Another devastating story is coming out. Family of influencer who died with fiance in Zanzibar says it doesn't make any sense. Are you guys listening? This is a terrible story. I'm sick of seeing these stories. And again, I know you guys think, for the chatter who was blocked by my bots, thank you, that I'm just making up beef. I have some issues with Hassan. Guys, Hassan is just a man. With peace and love, accusing a woman of having a personal something with Hassan is Ethan Kleining. You are Ethan Kleining me right now, telling Taylor Lorenz Hassan will never fuck you. Hassan is just a man. And I have rightfully defended Hassan when he deserved it. And I've rightfully called him out based off of my ethics. Guys, if you don't want to know about my ethical position, why are you watching me? If you don't want to know about my subjective, personal opinion, my ethical position, my philosophical position, why are you watching me? It's like watching a vegan and being like, why are you mad Hassan eats meat? What are you talking about? Why wouldn't I be upset Hassan eats meat? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And by the way, I'm not a vegan even. I'm just talking about in general. Like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't I be annoyed or call it out? You're acting like, sometimes I think viewers genuinely, even the good faith ones, don't understand you are watching a person for their opinions. I am not a journalist. I'm here to give opinions, right? So if you don't want Brittany's opinion, her perspective on this position or on this situation, why are you watching me? Just like you watch Hassan for his opinion. If you watch Hassan for the news, you're watching Hassan, the news filtered through Hassan. You don't have to watch Hassan for the news. What you really mean to say is I'm watching Hassan talk about the news because I want his opinion moved it. Like, me too. I love watching people talk about the news. But if I just wanted to watch the news, I would watch the news, which is different. Right?
From New Jersey, they want answers after authorities in East Africa announced Ashley Robinson died in Zanzibar this past weekend. The 31-year-old was there with her fiance. Police say she was found unconscious in her luxury villa and later was pronounced dead at a hospital. Jerika Duncan spoke to Robinson's parents in their very first network interview. Jerika, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Ashley Robinson, according to her family, was a light. She's the oldest of 6. She loved traveling the world. And they told me that they're very confused, honestly, by the lack of transparency about the investigation and the lack of communication from Robinson's fiance.
For influencer Ashley Robinson, known to tens of thousands of her followers as Ashley Janae, a birthday trip to a tropical paradise was supposed to be the pinnacle of a lifestyle built on travel and exploration. It was here on the East African island of Zanzibar where her boyfriend Joe McCann dropped to one knee. On Monday, we spoke to Robinson's parents.
We both had FaceTime conversations with her. She was showing us the engagement ring and where they were. She was happy. It doesn't make any sense.
In the middle of celebrating her engagement to McCann, just days after her 31st birthday, police say Robinson was rushed to a local hospital after she was found unconscious and was later pronounced dead.
We found out that our daughter had passed from the hotel. The fiancé did not reach out to us at all.
Robinson's mother told another news outlet the couple had an argument so severe that hotel staff moved them into separate rooms. Investigators in Zanzibar announced Tuesday that McCann is being held for questioning. Authorities have also seized his passport pending the results of an autopsy.
Do you believe that Joe McCann had something to do with your daughter's death?
We don't know what went on.
What did she tell you her dreams or her goals were for the future?
She believed that she was on the path of the next chapter of her life and settling with someone who she believed to be the love of her life.
Now, we have been unable to reach Joe McCann, his relatives, or anyone from the investment company that he founded. The State Department says it is monitoring the case. In the meantime, a crowdfunding page is helping raise money for Robinson's relatives to travel to Zanzibar to help get some answers. Vlad.
And I know, Drika, you've been covering this story.
You know, the hotel had to separate them, one thing after another. You know, I'm just exhausted. You're exhausted. And yet we have to keep working at it. But the way we work at it is to intervene with children, to talk to young boys. I mean, there's a reason school shooters are often very young. So the fact that Hassan says like, oh, she said the N-word when she was 15. Yeah, but why did she say the N-word? And in public, like you're acting like, oh, she said it, you know, in a forest and nobody could hear it. Bro, she tweeted it, bro. She put it on. She felt entitled. Like she felt that feel. So again, I'm saying I'm with you. Like kids do stuff, but if we don't focus on children, if we don't raise babies better, we act like we're not bringing full people into existence every time we make a baby, and we're not acting like those babies aren't products of their environment. It sounds like he's saying like, oh, Christopher Columbus was a product of his time. Yeah, the time's not really. Like, I hear you, but that's what the argument is. The argument is like, oh, she was 15. Yes, we are products of our environment, and that's why kids in that environment have to be, hey, you can't say that, or hey, you're hurting people's feelings, or hey, that's a racist. That's a racism. You can't do that, you know? And like, oh, why can't you do that? Why can't I do it? It's just a word. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's actually educate our kids, right? And so there's layers to this. Now, you might say to yourself, not everything's patriarchy, Brittany. Oh, I'll give you another story you asked me to talk about that is absolutely a product of patriarchy, even though you don't think it is. Because you don't understand that the reason a lot of the times when it's a female teacher with a male student or a female teacher being a sexual offender, that patriarchy keeps people from holding them accountable, because every time we call women out for what they did, men go, oh, that's the dream. That's what we'd like. She's a hot teacher. That's the goal. Oh, does that even matter, bro? Is that even rape? Like, I've heard grown men make this argument even in real life, let alone on the internet. It's all bad. And this all ties into, once again, people in positions of power making themselves a sex symbol for their audiences. And I'm saying there is a difference between being a nude creator. There's a difference between being a sex worker and having boundaries. There's a difference. How you do it matters. Okay? So let's talk about the story people wanted me to cover about teacher Haley Beck, Noah Beck's sister. To be honest with you guys, I don't know who Noah Beck is, but apparently it's a TikToker. I think I know the name. I think I know the face maybe, but I don't really know the bubble. But that's really what they're calling this story. But this is her. This is her responsibility.
TikToker Noah Beck's sister, Haley Beck, is in trouble with the law. The Peoria Unified School District told E! News in an April 8th statement. The 27-year-old has been recommended for termination from her teaching job in Arizona after internal investigators found that she had a sexual relationship with the student, according to the school district's statement of charges obtained by E! News. While working as a psychology and sociology teacher at Centennial High School, Haley allegedly began grooming one of her students before he turned 18. Per the document, school officials said the pair developed a quid pro quo relationship that initially raised concerns when she let him borrow her car keys in December of 2024 to get his Christmas presents from her car. In the spring of 2025, Haley allegedly gave the student food and special treatment in class, including bumping his grades and doing his homework, according to the school's statement of charges. In addition to adding the student on Snapchat under the name Sneaky Link, she allegedly exchanged more than 4,000 texts with him over the summer of 2025, including messages about oral sex, meeting up to have sex, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, and about the student filming Haley providing him oral sex and showing it to other students.
Ugh.
Haley allegedly called herself
What?
2025, including messages about oral sex, meeting up to have sex, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, and about the student filming Haley providing him oral sex and
Oh, gross. Oh, that's so fucking gross. Holy fuck, that's so gross. What the fuck? I did not know that. Oh my God.
Showing it to other students. Haley allegedly called herself a sugar mama and him a sugar baby, sending him a total of $630 on Apple Pay. The Title IX decision maker wrote in the school document, since grooming did occur, any sexual conduct after the date of consent is unwelcome. Within the teacher-student relationship, the behavior is also severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive. In the text messages, there were sexually charged conversations and admission of sexual behaviors between students and teachers are severe and objectively offensive. The superintendent recommended dismissal, and the governing board adopted a statement of charges to fire Haley on March 26th. The school said in a statement to E, the matter is currently pending before the State Board of Education. Meanwhile, Haley's lawyer, Matthew Long, denied she committed any crimes, saying, Ms. Beck respects the criminal justice process and looks forward to the conclusion of the investigation, which will reveal she committed no crimes. Like any individual subject to investigation, Ms. Beck is entitled to due process. We are confident that a complete review of the facts will confirm her innocence. The district said in an April 8th statement to E! News. After review of the investigators' findings, the decision maker found that Ms. Beck groomed a student, which resulted in her having a sexual relationship with that student, and therefore recommended her termination. Police have sent their findings to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office to determine if criminal charges are supported, according to the school. E! News has been unable to find contact information for Haley to see comment.
Disgusting, bro. Oh man. I didn't know it was that bad. What do you mean not guilty? What does that even mean? What? Yeah, chat says this society has an integrity crisis. We really do, girls. We really do. Oh my God. Oh, I feel like I gotta sit with that one. Gross. You know, I tell you guys, in my high school, we had two teachers. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I'm not talking to my parents right now is because when they hear stories like this, they go, well, the kids are kind of 50% wrong too. I love my parents, but I can't. Every time, the conservatives love to talk about protecting kids, but every time the kids come forward with stories, they go, well, you were a teenager. You knew better. No. You know who knew better? The teacher. You know who should have known better? The adult. That's what I'm saying. Like, I love people and I love humans and I love the world, but y'all are too fucking loosey-goosey on predators, bro. You're too casually accepting of these fuckboys. You are so casually letting things slide, and I'm so sick of it. I'm so tired. It's coming at the expense of literal children, literal kids. I'm so tired. No, absolutely not. And I think that brings to a closure my exact point that I'm trying to make. Time and time again, you tell vulnerable communities, trust us this time. This time you can trust us. Okay, how about no? For once, no. No, we've done this every time, every single fucking time. No, this time, absolutely not. Okay? No. And I get it. Now again, I'm not going to assume the worst of you, but based off the data, no. And that's the thing. Stop accusing me of saying I said things about Hassan that were not true. And stop pretending like I didn't just show you the data in the stream, that there is a red flag here, whether you like it or not. This whole week has been examples of red flags. For everybody in this community that is way too loosey-goosey about I want to fuck Hassan memes, you do not understand how this plays into powers of structure that are exactly this problem. Okay? Because I bet that was a part of this process, okay? And I have, by the way, teachers. I have people in my life that are teachers, mostly, actually all of them are women, of course, and they say that if they get any indication that a student even has a crush on them, they change tactics right away, because as the adult in the room, they have to. As the adult in the room, it is normal for kids to go through crushes for adults, but it is your job to say absolutely not. No, okay? It is my job as a content creator that if I get any indication that I'm dealing with a fan, I go, hey, absolutely not. Okay? Do not make thirst traps of me. I do not want to see a single TikTok on YouTube that's like, oh, I shaved my body just in case. Absolutely not. Take that down. Take it down. And I know people are like, oh, nobody would ever do that, Brittany. You're ugly. Okay, please focus, keep the misogyny and sexism to a minimum here. But that's what I'm trying to say. Stop, take it down. Now, if I was a full-time capitalistic sex worker, obviously I would want you to say those things about me. But please know I am not. I hope in my job of doing nude work, I hope I never receive a DM telling me I'm pretty ever. Just know that every time I get those comments, it makes me never want to post. I'm not posting for your validation. I'm creating art. I don't need it. I know it's good because I look back on it and say, that's a fire picture. I made a really good shoot that day. I don't need your validation. And that's the difference. Okay? I don't want your validation. I know I'm cute. I know. I posted it. Like, also, I get that we are a validation-seeking society. So you know what validation I do need? That I did my due diligence. That I have a good argument. That you guys agree. Did I see that correctly? Did I read that tweet correctly? Like, I'm seeking validation to make sure that I am being held accountable within my values. Guys, does that make sense? You know, when I ask you questions, I'm really asking you because I need the feedback. But I don't need you to tell me I'm pretty. I don't need you to be like, oh no, you're perfect the way you are. Now, if you of your own good graces want to be a girly gay, they, them, he, him, who's just like, oh my God, girl, love the hair today. Thank you. Thank you. I want to hear that too. Hey, I love the earrings. Hey, I love that top. Hey, you really look pretty today. Thank you. Because that's just a wholesome exchanging of compliment. That's not like, oh, Brittany, you know, you're not actually interested in me. I know that. I can hear it in the way you compliment me. And then the dilemma is, once again, when you engage in a belief that any criticism of somebody is because you actually just want to fuck them, you're engaging in absolute misogyny. So stop saying that about people. Be serious. Be serious about your observations because real people's lives are on the line. Like, real people's lives are on the line. Real people. Real children are watching you. Children are watching you, and what they're taking from you is that I have to deal with bullying at school for the greater good. And I say abso-fucking-lutely not. Children should not have to deal with bullying at school for the greater good. And that's basically what you're saying about that N-word situation. Because if she's saying it on Twitter, she's saying it to classmates, or she's thinking it, or her classmates are seeing it, or you know what I'm saying? Like, put it together, do the math. Chad says, by the way, nice hair today. Thanks. All right. I have 2 more videos I want to watch with you. Let's take our 2-minute break. I'm going to go make me some decaf. Give me like 5 minutes, and then we'll watch these 2 videos relating to capitalism, libs, and a 76-year-old who loses 1.6 million in savings to an AI investment scam. I'm devastated. Capitalism is ruining our parents' retirement. And the worst part is they won't listen to us. I'm so fucking annoyed with boomers right now, okay? All right. And it's so sad. These companies are disgusting. All right, I'll be right back. Actually, hold on. You know what? Hold on, girls. I'm going to do you a solid right now. Hold on. Let me do this really fast. Ba, 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 ba. Mm-hmm. 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 I've been meaning to do this. Okay, this should be just enough. I'm gonna leave you with my friend Devin Doe's music because it should be just enough time for me to make decaf. Put it on a little playlist, so it might loop the 2 songs, but they're 2 great songs. Loop playlist. Okay. I'll be right back.
I'm annoying when I'm happy. I feel gleeful when you touch me. I don't wanna see that side. I just wanna hide my face in your chest for the rest of my life is a mystery. One that I don't really need. I'd rather have the feeling of knowing. The act of controlling these strings pulling me. But I can't help just good at pretending, except when I'm with you. You see right through. When it feels good, I feel crazy, like it's a big lie and I'm just waiting for it to become exhausting, self-fulfilling prophecy. I know life, yeah, it's a process. Sometimes waiting is a part of progress, but I'm slowly losing patience, oscillating between passion and indifference. And I can't help myself, there's no stopping me. When it's enough, enough, it's getting harder to breathe. I'm not as tough as you think, I'm just good at pretending, except when I'm with you. You see right through. Stuck in my head, in real life I'm in bed, my belly's being fed and I'm okay, I'm just fine, yet all I do is whine, not to you in my mind, 'cause I know I don't make sense, I've been nothing but blessed, so why's my life a mess? Please tell me, 'cause I'm sick of thinking, yeah, I'm sick of reaching out for the truth, and living life as a fool. Trapped in this mind, trying hard to find the pieces to my life to make things clear. What just say? I was too busy calculating what adds up to me, but I know it's not solvable, an impossible puzzle, yet here I am trying to work it. Who's to say if it's worth it or just a waste? A never-ending chase me to the moon, chase me till I am blue. I'm so blue. Color me, see through, till I fade away, finally rest this brain. Here in this world, mysterious universe, or just a floating rock, we'll never know, it's just our brains. Perception's not the same, it depends on who you ask and what's their name. What's my name?
All right, I'm back.
Stuck in my head, in real life I'm in bed, my belly's
body's being fed and I'm okay.
I'm just fine, yet
All I do is whine.
not to you in my mind, 'cause I know I don't make sense. I've been nothing but blessed, so why's my life a mess? Please tell me why I take things serious. It's insane, a
Bit delirious.
all in vain. After all, life's just a game.
All right, that is Devin Doe. Honestly, one of my personal homies, and honestly, I can't. Oh, I want them to put out an album so bad. They always send me their new music, and it's so good. It's stupid. I hate how much they don't even know how good they are. Like, it's so annoying to me. I'm like, you're literally, they sing, they do the lyrics, they do the piano. It's all them, and they're just like. Yeah, they're so talented. They just sent me a new song like the other day. They're like, how about this one? I was like, like, they're so good. In my other life, I would have been a singer. You know? They literally, like, they create it in their head. They literally will sit down and just, like, sit down and look at their keyboard. And then they'll just be like, and then they'll just start writing lyrics. And, like, it comes from a real place. Like, it comes from a real place. I'm like, oh, I remember when you were going through, or like, oh, this is like, it's so good. People are so talented. But yeah, they have a real job. Like, not a real job, but they have like a career. So, you know, but if they ever wanted to, I think they really could be, they could be, you know, but they didn't want it. It's not like they want to go on tour or something. That's the thing. I feel like all the people in my life, I think the one thing all of my friends and I have in common is none of us want to be famous, but all of us want to be artists. Like, none of us want to play the social media game. None of us want to get record deals in that traditional way. None of us want to be a capitalistic, like, entity, but all of us want to do art for a living. So it's like, yeah, I think all of my friends. So anyways, it's a combination of some of my friends having, like, you know, I just, you know how it is, you know. So much talent, you know. Which is perfect to talk about capitalism, right? Because it makes me wonder, like, what could we all be doing if we weren't busy fucking, you know? And a lot of my friends, by the way, have really good careers. Like, not just money-making careers. I mean, like, helping the community careers. So that's another part of it, too. Like, it's not like my friends don't also have, like, really important community jobs. It's just, and also they're artists. So, you know, it's one of those things as well. It's like, can I do both somehow, maybe? Anyway. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll watch one news story before we get into Michael Burns' new video about capitalism and liberals choosing fascism, because I think that'll be a good way to end this week as well. So let's watch this story first.
Ron Williams never imagined he'd have to tell his son he lost everything he'd saved up to someone he never met.
At first, I was devastated, and I felt stupid.
The 76-year-old retired insurance agent from Brooklyn says it started with a random text message from someone calling herself Jenny that turned into friendly banter, with Jenny sending this video and saying she was 33, Christian, and living in Boston.
It was easy communication. It felt very comfortable.
Jenny soon told Williams she was making a fortune investing and asked him to join her. Within about 6 months, he'd invested $1.6 million. He could see his money growing on the platform. But Williams' son had suspicions.
Part of what's hard is from the very first moment he tells me about Jenny, and he's like, you ever get one of these messages? Yeah, all the time. And they're all fake. We had the suspicion, but not the evidence.
Somebody said, back in the day, it was like, oh, I'm a prince and I need money. And now it's like, here's a high paying job. Do you want it? Like, the joke is in 2026, the way to scam people is like, invest your money or get a high paying job. It's no longer like, you know, and we've always had these things. We've always had them even before the internet. We've had scammers. That's why I talk about ethics, because it's very unethical to steal. See how it's unethical to steal? It's unethical to scam. You're a thief. But the question is like, why, what went wrong in the situation to create this situation? And a big part of it, man, the stress this family must be feeling. Oops.
Until he did a reverse image search on Jenny and found several social media accounts using what appear to be the same videos.
Did you ever ask to meet her in person?
Several times.
There was always an excuse to not meet in person.
Right.
Months into the relationship, Jenny told him she lent him $110,000 for a big investment opportunity. When he tried to pay her back, the wire transfer to China was blocked. So Williams agreed to meet a runner in his home and handed him a bag with $110,000 in cash.
I didn't know. My God, like what a terrifying idea.
At this point, do you think Jenny is even a real person?
At this point, I'm wondering, but I'm so deeply in terms of money that I'm praying that it is true.
And when Williams wanted to take out his money, some $4 million, Jenny said he'd have to send more money to cover the taxes. That's when alarm bells started going off. Williams' son then made his own AI-generated video of Jenny to show him just how easy it is.
I felt this incredible connection.
Williams accepted he'd been scammed and reported it to police and the FBI.
This is not the work of some supercoder. This took me 3 minutes on a site that didn't even charge me money to do it, and that's super scary.
NBC News reached out to Jenny, but she never responded. We have not verified whether the person seen in the videos is real or...
By the way, he's being scammed by a man. Scammers are men. Not that women don't engage, but you have to remember, men is a system, patriarchy, capitalism makes men feel entitled to stealing your money. You know what I mean? There's something about it. I'm telling you. That's what's even crazier. They use the image of women because men are stupid. Because God bless this man. He saw a pretty girl and he was thinking, well, maybe this young lady likes me. Maybe you're a stupid man. Men are so horny. Y'all are too horny for your own good. Like, this is what's crazy. Because what are you doing? Using a young girl to hustle money out of you? Hello?
AI generated.
Things that we would tell our
NYPD financial crimes detective Daniel Alessandrino says AI.
And by the way, I am devastated for him. I think people who prey, especially on old people, I don't even believe in hell, but you're going there. You know what I mean? I don't even believe in hell, but they are 100% going there. I hope these scammers, every time they drink coffee, they taste shit. I hope every time you take a drink of your favorite beverage, it leaves an aftertaste of what you can assume shit tastes like.
AI is supercharging these scams.
Now with AI, they're giving you realistic videos and it looks like you're really talking to the person.
He says never invest or send money to someone you haven't met and report these scams right away to give investigators a chance to recover stolen money. And he says in some cases, the scammers themselves are victims.
They're victims of human trafficking, where they have these compounds and they lure people on job opportunities. They torture them unless they provide by doing these cons.
There was no way out.
22-year-old Arnold from Uganda connected with us through Amnesty International. He asked us not to reveal his full name because he fears for his safety. But Arnold said...
Why'd you put his face on the internet?
He paid $2,000 to a job agency that sent him to a scam compound like this one
See?
in Cambodia, where he says he was forced to find victims for investment schemes using social media.
You feel their pain, also being tortured, you are being beaten.
The Cambodian government says it's cracking down on this.
Patriarchy. Men. They're abusing other men. That's what I'm saying. Andrew Tate bragged about taking men's life savings from them and said, fuck them. If they're stupid enough to give it to me, fuck them. While also being, quote, a beacon for men, a leader for men. That's what I'm saying. It's men fucking over men and then fucking over all of us.
Scam industry and has denied.
And it's not because they're men, the gender. I do not believe men are born evil. I believe patriarchy conditions young men to think this is the only way to show up and be a man.
That it's complicit. Thousands of trafficked workers have recently been released from scam centers. After about 6 months, Arnold says he was released and often thinks about his victims.
Well, the documentary I watched on boating and sea life says human trafficking is a big part of it. They kidnap men to work on these boats, and a lot of them die in the process. And that's Ship's Conspiracy or Ship Ocean. I can't think of the name of the documentary. That's what I'm saying. There's sex trafficking involved in these meat industries. There's sex trafficking human trafficking in these meat industries. There's human trafficking in these cell phone industries. Like, that's what I'm saying. On the labor, on the backs of people. And that's why I say, like, we can't talk about, just dismantling capitalism. It's like your morals are in the gutter. You fucking suck. Like, you fucking literally suck. Yeah, Seaspiracy. I think that's what it's called, chat. Seaspiracy. You fucking suck. That's what I'm saying. Like, you keep talking about systems of oppression, and yes, those are absolutely fucking real. But who are all the bad people who are doing it? Why are you doing it? Why are you kidnapping men and putting them in these positions? You know, is Israel not complicit for raping and kidnapping people? Or are you going to say, well, Israel's a system? These soldiers are still running over Palestinians. We're still doing it. We're still engaging in it as people. We are doing the crimes. Cops are standing on the necks of men. We are doing the crimes. And I'm saying, stop doing them. And pay attention to how the system encourages you to do it. But stop, you cannot sit there and be like, oh, well, I was a police officer and I stood on his neck because, you know, like the system of being a cop. Yeah, I get it, bro. I've seen The Departed. I get it. And also,
saw me as the devil. I do not blame them, but the people in those companies are also just victims who are under immense pressure of life and death. And when they return, because they do not earn anything, life even becomes harder to them, just as the people that have lost their properties and money.
Why do you want to speak out about what happened to you?
Majorly because there are a lot of people who are still there, who need help. But also this work is still going on. So there are more people who are being affected through these schemes who may need to learn about all this.
We always want you to do something else.
The irony is not lost on Williams that he works in tech and was unable to help his dad sooner.
That's also the deep guilt that I carry. Is like, I mean, I got some answers, man. It's like, we could have talked about this.
So he's now using what his family learned.
How do we fight this?
To build an app to help people identify scams.
The thing that was the most gut-wrenching was when I asked him what you did it for, and he shared it was because I wanted to leave you something. Like, he's the gift. This is all we want.
Vicky Nguyen, NBC News, New York.
oh, I hate this. I hate it. I'm gonna cry. I hate when old people are scammed, bro. It pisses me off. How could you scam? Ugh. I fucking hate that shit. It pisses me off. Okay, I need a breather. I need a cleanser. These are some of my favorite videos. Decenter men, deconstruct patriarchy. And also, I love to see men having a good time. I do. I have a soft spot, especially for old men having a good time. These are my favorite videos on the internet.
Ready for B2 workers. Okay. Ready for high labor. We're going to Disneyland. Ready? Yeah. I have 500 for each of you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Man. there you go. Thank you, man. I never expected to do this, man. I thought I was go to work, like digging or moving stuff, and suddenly I couldn't believe it. Yeah, surprised. Yeah. Love them so much, and let them every day feel like little kids, because that's what matters the most. Yes. Amen. 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 All right, I love you guys. B2 workers.
I watch those videos all the time, and you can talk about but he pays them for their day of labor and pays them over probably what they would make anyways. And he takes them out because men deserve a vacation too. They deserve to go to Disneyland, not to be like, oh, go to Disneyland as a way to relax because it's also part of capitalism. But also, you know what I'm saying? I know we talk a lot about men, but I also want to see my father have fun. Every time I go to Disney, I think, oh, I want to bring my dad here. He would love the technology. Oh, I want to bring my dad here. He would love this. That's like one of the number one thoughts I have when I'm at Disneyland. We're thinking about our dads. We're thinking about our brothers. We are thinking about the men in our life because we want them to have fun too. We want them to laugh and giggle and wear mouse ears and feel like they can be cutesy too. And also, right? That they're appreciated, that they go to work, they wake up, they work these long days. Like, we want them to have fun too, you know? We just wish that when we came to them and told them about our rapes, they wouldn't say, well, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. Can we figure that out? Could we maybe come to our fathers about our rapes and not have them react with, And also, can we go to Disneyland? Could we just maybe have both of those things? Could we maybe have you know what I mean? Anyways, why liberals always side with fascists, which I believe is one of the titles Michael Burns chose. I think the other one was also why capitalism sucks, and I agree to both of those statements. Let's watch.
Trump might have become the most honest American president ever.
We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. We have to guard the country.
And honestly, this feels kind of refreshing because at least he just said the thing. And as Trump and his administration remind us that we can't have healthcare or childcare because we need to fund a senseless and bloodthirsty war, there's an unsurprising lack of response from the opposition party. Oh wait, actually I'm wrong. The Democrats They posted about it, and then Chuck Schumer wrote a strongly worded statement. So I think we're good now. And it honestly is starting to feel like American liberals and liberals more generally have more.
You also forgot about their TikTok page, the Democrats. That TikTok page goes crazy. Let's go look at it for a second. Hold on, go on an adventure with me. That TikTok. Oh my God. I just opened up the thing to Colbert making fun of. You guys see that they were trying to quote out of the Bible and they quoted out of Pulp Fiction. Fucking this administration's so fucking stupid. It's insane. It's so fucking stupid. Look at the Democrats page. 5 million followers.
The worst thing I learned when I went into government is the sucking sound of how many people try to suck off of the U.S. government. I mean, it's so demoralizing to watch that stuff. Look,
isn't this
the
guy?
Worst thing
And that's funny. Isn't this the same guy? It says, why is the Trump cabinet member talking about sucking off? He's the guy who also had Epstein as a neighbor. Isn't he the same guy or is that a different guy? New photos reveal, oh God, gross. Unappetizing meals for U.S. ships in the Middle East. Ugh, nasty, bro. I'm gonna get copyrighted over here.
I have no fear either the Trump administration or speaking out loudly about the message in the gospel.
I'm gonna get copyrighted. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. Gen Z is rocking this account, which, I appreciate a meme or two, but I don't know, girls. Okay, let's go back to the Democrats here. Emily, welcome to memberships.
More in common with fascist than they do with leftist. They were cool with Liz Cheney being part of their Big Tent coalition during Harris.
Ooh, nice suit, Kamala Harris. Ooh, I like that green, though. Ooh, Liz Cheney, boo. I kind of like this blue, though, but I like this green a lot. I like it a lot.
This is doomed 2024 campaign. And now many of those same Democrats are out to get Hassan Piker, claiming that he's just as bad, if not worse, than figures on the far right. And this idea that when push comes to shove, liberals will side with fascism to protect capitalism is explored and explained in Dr. Clara Mattei's recent book, Escape from Capitalism.
This work was really about showing how austerity is not a natural order of things. It comes about in specific moments when the system shows its fragility. And that's what I based kind of the theorization of the Escape from Capitalism on, is to say, well, the capital order is, again, really stressing the fact that this order is political and is enforced actively by governments and other state institutions or economic institutions at large.
Now, this book, which has the subtitle An Intervention, argues that capitalism is in no way a natural or scientific system. It's a specific political project masked as an economic system that weaponizes concepts like austerity, unemployment, and development to enrich the capitalist class while further dehumanizing and exploiting working people like us. Now, this obviously sucks and is true, but Mattei makes the point that precisely because this isn't a natural or necessary system, it can be a
We're in a situation in which the violence of the economy has reached a very, very obscene peak. We have actually 12 people in the
I have this on my watch later list. Capitalism is not natural, it's enforced. Okay, we need to watch this when we come back next week, because that idea is actually, I think, a struggle, because there's two parts of this that I think are interesting, right? Yes, capitalism is a making of humans, but because humans are their nature, we keep trying to have these conversations where we're trying to ascend our nature, which is the problem I think we keep having, because if we keep thinking we're outside of our nature, we're not going to actually get to the crux of having a deeper relationship with it. And yet, Republicans weaponize that and say, oh, this is how the world is because it's our nature. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it has to be that way, right? So I get what she's saying. It's not natural in the sense that the Republicans mean, but also it is natural in the sense that we are animals on a planet, and this is our biological experience. This is what we created. The dam for the beaver is as natural as our skyscrapers in Manhattan are. So, when we have these conversations about what is nature, what does that even mean, right? And again, because if you only focus as humans as outside of nature, you're then making us the main character of the universe, which we are not.
Escaped, deconstructed, and eventually destroyed. Now, to use my own language here, she's basically showing how the capitalist economic project has turned into a sort of political theology, where we treat the free market system like some holy and preordained way of life given to us by.
Very true. Actually, the biggest issue, the biggest problem with the marketing from conservatives is they literally think it is the greatest thing that ever happened. You know what's so interesting, though? Hold on. I found this really hilarious site. Hold on. Capitalism. Capitalism. Hold on. I found the funniest website and I was laughing reading this website. Capitalism capitalist. Oh, what was it called? Damn, what was this website called? It was like Capitalism for All or free. It was a website that was like explaining the differences between capitalism and like Marxism or whatever else. But it was I can't find it. Fuck. The funniest part as I was reading it was so funny. They describe everything fine. Like everything is fine. Then they do capitalism last. I get to capitalism as I'm reading, and just the first paragraph about capitalism made me go, oh, this is horrible. Like, is this website trying to sell me capitalism? Because it's doing a very bad job. And that's the thing, is like, it takes a certain level of brain change to see the definition of capitalism and be like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is really bad. And I don't think conservatives hear it and see it that way because, again, they're all embarrassed millionaires. And so they see it as like an option. Like, I want to be free to make an option. But it's insane how your brain changes, right? And so I just thought that was so funny. I wish I could find you the website. Maybe I'll find it next week for when we review her video, but it made me laugh.
God. And as I've shown in recent videos, a lot of evangelical figures are quite literally willing to argue that capitalism is Jesus's preferred economic paradigm. You know, like take this credit card and build up debt, because when you do, you will consume with my flesh and blood, or something like that. But of course, this quasi-religious way of life does not serve people, it serves profit. And the implications of all of this are quite bad, as Matei points out in her book. So something I noticed when prepping for this video is that Claire had done a lot of interviews.
I do see chat saying capitalism would not be so bad if rich had to pay the high taxes like they used to. It would still be bad though, right? Like it would be less bad, but it would still be bad. You know, the framework that is capitalism, it's just not good. It's not good. It's not ethical. It's just not good for anybody. So that's more of a liberal kind of stance, right? Like, oh, we just need to get people to pay their fair share of taxes. Yeah, but past that, we need to dismantle capitalism. It's just not a good system. Look, we created the system. We can come up with better ones. That's the problem. I think what she's saying is we're married to this idea that capitalism is the only option. We have other options.
On British and European TV stations more generally, while in America, her work has been covered more by podcasters and people like me. And I'm kind of clued in on the UK news coverage scene because I used to live over there, went to grad school in the UK. And it's gotten harder since I lived in the States to watch some of the stuff I like, whether that's news shows, documentary series, or again, just binging docs by people like Louis Theroux and Adam Curtis. But thanks to this video sponsor, Surfshark VPN, I can check out all of this stuff, whether it's on BBC iPlayer or the Channel 4 player. I can also watch a host of other content made outside the US. And that's because Surfshark gives me an online disguise, which lets the internet think that I'm just a nice British chap wanting to watch my quiz shows before a cup of tea. You know, Surfshark opens up a whole new world of shows, films, and documentaries, letting you virtually track.
What just happened? Hello? I have a VPN. I should reach out to them and get sponsored by the VPN I use, because I do use a VPN. Who do I use? I'm too much of a boomer. Either way, we use a VPN. It's actually very helpful.
Travel around the world. But more important than just the fun stuff, it also keeps you safe when you're exploring the internet with increased security and privacy. And this is especially important if you're using shared Wi-Fi networks where hackers can drop in and just grab all your data. You know, Surfshark makes sure that your online activity is encrypted no matter where you are. They have over 320 servers in 100 countries. So
I don't know anything about Surfshark. Chat is asking if they're shady. I don't know anything about them in particular. But I know the VPN we had before we switched out of it because they were doing deals or were associated with Israel. So as a form of, personal protest, we changed VPNs. So I don't know. I don't know about Surfshark though. Yeah, I heard ExpressVPN. That's the one we switched out of. And yeah, Nord, I think it looks like we use NordVPN now. So that's the one I switched to because we used to have ExpressVPN, and then I heard about the connection and I was like, uh-oh. And then we switched.
I'm using it, I feel like I just have a global passport by which I can safely explore the internet. And because the internet is, I don't know, I guess to use academic speak, sketchy as hell, I'm also loving Surfshark Antivirus, which works 24/7 to make sure that weirdos cannot access my webcam to watch me without my hat on. Because if they did, they would just see hair. They'd see lots of hair. So if you want to watch some British quiz shows while you're having a cup of tea and eating a packet of crisp at night, no matter where you are in the world, check out Surfshark VPN. Now, if you go to surfshark.com/burns or use my code burns, you're going to get 4 extra months for free. Whoa. And there's no risk in trying Surfshark out if they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, let's get back to learning about how we can maybe possibly escape from capitalism.
Let's talk about tonight's deadline that President Trump has set, 8 p.m., has threatened to destroy a civilization. How does an investor process that? Is it a bigger upside risk or downside risk?
Now, something she emphasizes that I think is really important is the idea that capitalism is a fundamentally inhumane system. Like, it's quite literally anti-human. Now, if we want to use the pro-life, anti-life paradigm favored by many of capitalism's biggest fans, it is an anti-life system. And that's both in terms of human life, plant and animal life, and even the very conditions that sustain biological life in general on this planet.
If we're going to protect natural systems, one of the solutions is to bring nature onto the balance sheet.
So on this month's Burns After Reading, let's talk.
I want to rewind that. The World Economic Forum attempting to monetize breathing. This is not a joke. CEO of Institute of Sustainability Leadership, Lindsay Hooper, claims the water, soil, and oxygen should not be infinitely accessible. She proposes classifying them as assets and placing them on a global balance sheet.
Sustain biological life in general on this planet.
If we're going to protect natural systems, one of the solutions is to bring nature onto the balance sheet.
So on this month's Burns After Reading, let's talk about why I think this book not only speaks to one of the very apparent contradictions of our time, but also might help us articulate some of these things in a way that—
Have you guys seen the Lorax? Isn't it the Lorax where they sell you oxygen? Wait, isn't that what that is? The Lorax. Yeah, it is. It's the Lorax. Remember, they like share air and they share oxygen because of this guy. That's what I'm saying. How do we watch movies and not know this guy is the bad guy? This is literally Trump. You know what I'm saying? How do we watch all of these movies and all of these stories? Like, the bad guy is so clear. We're so dumb. The bad guy is so obvious. Like, it's, oh, I hate it. I love us. I love us.
That makes anti-capitalism more palatable to our liberal friends who are starting to understand that things are really, really—
Yeah. Chet says this is the same world that will want to judge you for wanting to die, by the way. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're like, I can't believe you want to commit suicide. And I'm like, hello? This is why I love my therapist. Because she's like, you know what? That makes sense that you want to die. I'm like, thank you. And now, okay, 6 years clean of wanting to suicide, but girl, don't tempt me. Girl, don't tempt me. Okay, I will do it just out of spite. Okay, but like that's what I'm saying. The validation of being like, thank you. There are perfectly good reasons to end your life. And also, hold up, wait a second. You're the only you that will ever exist. So wait a second, hold on. You cannot be replaced. Wait a second. Hold on. Stay here for a second. It's pretty nice over here. So I get it, but stay here, okay?
Bad, but might still struggle to understand precisely why. Okay, let's start here. Economics is political.
In 1 year, our agenda has produced a transformation like America has not seen in over 100 years.
It's not a science or some objective metric of understanding financial and social reality. But for generations, we've been taught the lie that somehow economics can be disconnected from the political and more specifically the human, and this decoupling has led to a large-scale depolitization, where politics happens via voting and posting and donating money, and all the economic stuff that actually runs our lives, that's largely apolitical. You know, the system is just running itself, jacking off with invisible hands. Whoa. Now, in the book, Mattei writes that, like The Economist of a century ago, modern economists use language that hides an existential concern for a system that is actually neither eternal nor natural. You know, we might think here of the 2024 election where the Democrats repeatedly told us that actually the economy was good, even though for most of us, our lived experience didn't agree with that. And now in 2026, we're seeing the same thing as markets fall and prices go up, and Trump tells us that it's all good and eggs are cheap and gas prices are going down.
$1.99 a gallon. How would you like to have $1.99? You know, that's—
Don't fucking lie to me, bitch.
You are a worthless pile of
Now, as Mattei writes in this book, there are no economic problems that are not inevitably also political problems. This makes sense of why those in political power will do—
You know, not to be that girly, but Chad says if they make me pay for air, I just might. Listen, I know we're all joking, but people with asthma are actually charged for breathing. I know, because I have a brother who spends a stupid amount of money on inhalers. I know, because it costs us money to put Indiana through her inhaler. Like, we actually do charge people for breathing. How fucked up is that? Insulin. We charge people for insulin. We're so fucked up. We're so fucked up. You know how Hassan said we deserve 9/11? Maybe we deserve everything that happens to us. Because how fucked up are we? You know? You want to take it a step further? Maybe we deserve everything. Maybe nobody deserves anything, though, because no one deserves to suffer. As the great philosopher Thorfinn's dad would say. What's Thorfinn's dad's name? Nobody has any enemies, and no one deserves to get hurt. But that's really fucked up.
do stuff that makes no sense to us and seemingly makes our lives actively bad. Mattei also writes that what is
Thors, thank you.
rational according to the logic of needs is entirely rational according to the logic of profits. In other words, the market doesn't really give a shit if we can afford gas, eggs, or rent. It's solely oriented towards the purpose of shoring up profit for those in control of capital. Your ability to enjoy your life is completely incidental to those ends. And as Mattei gets at in this book, it's not just incidental that this system makes most of our lives way worse than they could be. She writes that to satisfy our needs, we depend on a system whose logic is not only indifferent to them, but also requires our exploitation. And we can put that in simple terms. We are dependent for our means of existence on a system that is fueled by the active exploitation of our human existence as such. You know, there's no such thing as capitalism for everyone or wealth creation for the whole middle class, as that's counter to the operations and the underlying logic of the system.
Okay, so that's what you remember when, was it Sneeko? Who was it? I think it might have been Sneeko or Aiden. One of those boys was talking to somebody, I don't know who, and they were basically like, you know, the same thing they always say, like, oh, everyone could be a millionaire, or everyone, you know, not everyone, you shouldn't work at McDonald's. And maybe it was a completely, I think multiple of these conversations have happened, so I'm mixing up a few stories here. But the basic premise is, young guy says, everyone should make money. If you're poor, it's your fault. Nobody should work at McDonald's. And then somebody says, do you eat at McDonald's? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, okay, so if you're going to eat at McDonald's, but nobody works at McDonald's, who's working at McDonald's if nobody works at McDonald's? And how do you get your McDonald's? And the guy just goes, You know, I think I'm mixing up a couple of clips that I've seen because I think these are two different stories, but it's the same premise, right? Young guy says everyone should be rich, but if everyone's rich, who's poor? And also that's what Michael Burns is saying. Well, why is anybody poor? Because that's how capitalism works. If capitalism is, you know, you don't want to be poor, well, somebody has to be poor. You can't all be rich. So that's why they feel justified in letting the poor be poor, because they say, well, that's your fault. You put yourself there because I came from this and I decided not to do this, right?
Self. Insert your preferred metaphor for this in the comments. And that's why Mattei writes that capitalist wealth is grounded in inequality and human alienation. So again, this shit is not accidental. It's very much a part of the system itself.
Oh, you know a good example of this, because Chet says we're also charged to eat. When people say people on welfare or food stamps shouldn't be able to buy lobster or warm food. I worked in the deli. I worked in the service deli. And, you know, if you get warm food like chicken nuggets or taquitos or something from the hot food section, lasagna, you're penalized. You can't do it. They can't get it on food stamps, which alienates them socially, right? Because a lot of people, I mean, I served hundreds of people a day through that food line. A lot of people on their break from work, a lot of people who needed really quick warm food that they could buy very quickly. And a whole group of people weren't allowed to buy from there. And so what you're doing is you're stigmatizing, socially ostracizing. And then on top of that, you're saying you don't deserve warm food. Why don't they deserve warm food? And now people will say, well, Brittany, you know, you have to buy your lunch and they don't have to buy theirs. Look, I'll say this with peace and love, and maybe I'll say it in a way that is processing. I really believe if you are on disability or food stamps or something like that, you really need it. Because the quality of life in that position is not that good. And that's what people have to understand. Like, in order for me to be jealous of someone on food stamps, I would have to then be jealous of the quality of life they're given, which is not good. It does not cover what you think it covers. It does not give them a better quality of life than you are having. And so for people making 60, 70, 100K a year, being mad at people making food stamp money, they're not making a lot of money. So like, you're doing this thing where you're not understanding, like, their quality of life is not, they're having problems, they need help, they need a buffer to get to, you know, eventually they want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a fundamental misunderstanding. Like, I could, you know what I mean? Like, there's just like a total misunderstanding of what's happening, you know? And so again, I think like people don't understand. And if you stay on food stamps your whole life, or you need disability your whole life, you need it. Like, that's the irony, is like that they need it. You know, the people who eventually get off food stamps, they don't need it anymore. But if you need it, you need it. So give it to them. They need it. What's the other option? It's just silly. It's just a ridiculous thing to be jealous of. You know what I mean? What a ridiculous thing to be like, oh, you know, well, how about if you're so jealous, we give everybody universal healthcare and universal housing and a universal paycheck? Oh, no, you don't want that either, apparently. Because they don't want to act like they're lazy, or, oh, they're not, oh, that's so lazy. It's like, you're not, it doesn't even make sense. This is why I say it's trauma. Hello, lock in. This is why I say go to therapy. I don't know what part of money you learned growing up. I know what part of shame you're carrying, but you're making it everybody else's problem. If I learned anything from watching Ramith, he always asks his guests, what did your parents say about money? What was the money conversation in your household? Because the way you're raised with money, I had a friend the other day tell me they're chronically ill. They're so tired. They're just so exhausted by life, and they really need to deep clean their house. And I was like, hire somebody. They're like, what? And I was like, hire somebody. You need help. You can't do everything alone. You don't have a family structure. Hire somebody to help you. If I was there, I would come clean with you. I'm not there. I can't do it. Hire somebody. Pay them good. Hire somebody. Okay, hire a professional. Do it. And they were like, well, I just feels like it's like, oh, am I so lazy I can't clean my house? And I'm like, it's a deep clean. Do it every 3 months. Have them help you. Move the fridge, clean on the counters, pay them, you know, but like you need help. And that's the problem. When we start having to pay for community because our community isn't around, if I was there, I would go over. We are friends like that. Like we are close enough friends that if they were like, hey, I really need help deep cleaning my house, I would come over, put on my scrubbies, blast some 90s music, and we would clean under their fridge together and on top of their cabinets. But I'm not there. And so capitalism is sort of the replacement of community, and that's the struggle. Now, I understand this is much more complicated and layered because, again, I am a singular one person who could be there for them. What about people who have not even the singular one person, right? So then capitalism comes in and goes, oh, I'll be your friend. I'll do it for you, right? And it's about closeness too and intimacy. As an example, if I had intimate friends, I would ask them to take me to the airport. Like my siblings took me to the airport when I came to Croatia because we have an intimate relationship. We're close. I wouldn't ask my casual friends to take me to the airport because I wouldn't want to build a more intimate relationship with them. Because the irony is when we ask people for favors, we're building intimacy. And I don't want to build intimacy with everybody. So there's also a struggle in that, right? So then we hire an Uber because it's not intimate, you know? And so there's another layer. There's another layer, and there's another layer, and there's another layer. So it is difficult, you know? But anyway, something to think about.
But this is why Clara points out how the use of austerity and unemployment by the ruling classes are, to put it in academic terms, fucking bullshit. Because as we saw earlier in the example of Trump, there is always money in the proverbial banana stand. It's just that we don't get it because that money needs to pay for things like war and corporate tax cuts.
Capitalism and war go hand in hand.
So when governments preach austerity, we need to ask who is being told to spend less and who is still free to use seemingly infinite money on bombs, tanks, private jets, and making sure the billionaires don't have to pay taxes. It's the same with unemployment. Matei gets into this in the book, but think about it in this way. Who benefits from full employment and who benefits from continuous unemployment? Get there? You think about it? You put your answers below? Okay. Because as you probably know, if we all had jobs, there would be less scarcity in terms of work and wages, and then employers would need to compete to attract and retain employees, us. And those employees would then have bargaining power to use against potential forms of exploitation. On the other hand, when there aren't enough jobs for everyone, employers have the power to take advantage of that scarcity to pay less and treat workers worse because they don't have other options. This, of course, also hurts attempts at unionization and workers' organizations because it's way more risky to organize when you can be easily fired, and then if you get fired, you know that there's not other jobs to go get. Now, one temptation that we might reasonably have when we first come face to face with the reality of capitalism is to critique it in terms of its immorality. And I get it, right? Like, it is immoral. It does feel bad, and an appeal to human morality might seem like the only way to combat the system. And it's a, attractive way to communicate why capitalism is bad to people, because especially in the West, we love morality. It's our favorite. We love morality. Oh, delivery robot just drove by the window I'm sitting next to. Speaking of unemployment, so there's an example, right? A robot delivery thing just went by on the...
I can't believe that happened. Really? A real robot just... Oh my God. Like, this story just got so shocking. What?
Sidewalk. That is something that the capitalist system is producing. Who used to deliver the food? A working person, but the working person is incidental to the flow of capital, right?
Oh my God,
So
what?
they're gonna build little robots that take jobs, and we're like, but who's gonna do the thing? Or don't worry about it.
Chad said I see them in NYC daily. I have yet to see one. Oh my God, what? I see them on TikTok. That's crazy. That's insane.
Just consume. Just shut the fuck up and consume. Now we see things like this call for morality and calls to tax bill.
Now that for me is dystopian. I don't like that. That freaks me the fuck out. I don't like that shit. I am not a fan of that. They're big in LA. Fuck, I am not into that. That is not my vibe. I don't like that at all.
billionaires and punish the bad dudes who are in charge of the system and then their bad dude friends who continue to benefit from it. But as Matei points out in this book, morality isn't a relevant category here, as capitalism is not inherently moral or immoral. It just follows an underlying economic logic, a logic that doesn't really care about us, doesn't really think in terms of human moral goods.
They have to increase the rate of exploitation. It has nothing to do with the greed, right? Again, like this forms, it's the exceptional greed of corporations.
Yeah.
No, it's not about greed. It's about the structure that we've created. And this is very important for me because I'm not a determinist. And I think a lot of, unfortunately, of vulgar Marxism is we are the architects of this structure that then traps us. And this trap is real also for large corporations.
And this is why we can't simply
Okay, hold on. Let me think about that. Hold on.
change.
Right, again, like this forms, it's the exceptional greed of corporations.
Yeah.
No, it's not about greed. It's about the structure that we've created. And this is very important for me.
Okay, wait. Big thinking, big brain right now. I agree that, is she saying, which is interesting because I do think bad people think they're good people. So I think to them, they're not greedy. To them, they're smart and good at business. I think some people are greedy, but I kind of think like the rapist doesn't know he's raped. The rapist says he's the exception or she's the exception, right? So I actually think like the why matters. And I think a lot of people, I think Jeff Bezos just thinks he's really good with business. I just think you know what I mean? I just think they think they're smart, So, I would call that somewhat deterministic by your biological experience of having that biological reward of I must be doing good, I'm getting all the rewards, instead of introspecting, have a deeper relationship and realizing you're making a choice. But the choice is also needs to be more of a choice if you realize you're making one. I think a lot of these boys just go why wouldn't you do it? I don't get why. I've had men tell me, I don't get why you're not doing it. I don't get it. And I'm like, for ethical reasons. But also those ethical reasons came out of deep introspection. So it came out of a willingness to say, I'm an animal on a planet. Why am I doing this? I was very pro-capitalism. I like it. I get it. I'm a fan of it. I'm going to build a business on Etsy, right? I'm going to make money. I'm going to build a business. And that's, partially one of the reasons why I think I struggle on how to run this thing that I do, because I'm not running a business, right? I don't have a business in a traditional sense. I'm not doing traditional things. And even when I've tried, I'm I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? I don't want to engage in this level of making money. I kind of almost feel like there are better ways to sort of make a living, and it's hard to know which one to pick and choose, right? It is hard to know what to do, especially when I'm thinking about the environment. So I don't want to sell things. What do you need more things for? And also I want to create things. So the irony is I do want to create things physically, but then what am I creating them for? There's a lot that goes into this. So I agree with her in some ways. I think it's and both a little bit. I'm confused because I would say there's a biological determinism that's real, and there's an introspection that we have a skill for that says, let's have a deeper relationship. Maybe, guys, is my work going to be profound or what? I don't know. Am I about to make something so profound that I don't think I made? That's the thing. I'm not making this philosophy. I'm observing things that I think are true. It seems to be that we need to have a deeper relationship with our biological experience, because this forces both of those arguments to be quiet. That one, you have this free will you think you have, and yet why do I have this biological pull? So when conservatives have that intuitive belief that there's a pull to them naturally wanting to do something, that's true. But then when she says you have a choice that's not determined, I also think that's true. It's kind of both. So it's maybe, I don't know. Maybe the deeper relationship with your biological experience will be so profound, and then I'll die and may nobody remember who I am. But that's kind of the point. It's kind of one of those things. Chet says, I disagree. They know exactly what they're doing. No, they do know what they're doing. The billionaires, they do know what they're doing, but they don't process it as, how I say, how do you sleep at night? They sleep fine. But I think that's because they have no ethical quandary with what they're doing, which is why I would disagree with her that ethics is actually important, that the system is a reflection of ethics, but they don't think they're doing anything ethically wrong. So when Michael Burns says, let's not talk about morals, yeah, but they are acting immorally to me because it's not objective. There's no objective morality, right? So they don't care because it's not immoral to them. So that's why they can sleep at night, because they're I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you mad at me? And I'm saying, you're right. You don't think you did anything wrong. Why do you think that's true? Why do you think you didn't do anything wrong? That's interesting. Could you tell me about that? And the problem is they don't introspect. They don't deconstruct. They don't actually look inward and say, why did I do that thing? Why did I think this was okay? How many things have you done in your past that you're like, I can't believe I used to do that. I can't believe, why did I do that? But what made you change, right? What made you actually think about why you were doing said action? So it is kind of interesting, this concept. I don't know. Yeah. Interesting.
Because I'm not a determinist, and I think a lot of, unfortunately, of vulgar Marxism is we are the architects of this structure that then traps us, and this trap is real also for large corporations.
And this is why we can't simply change our tax system to turn capitalism into something more humane and good. Writing about this, Mattei says that the irrelevance of greed reveals the force of market dependence. The system has commandeered our behavior. Morality, good or bad, has lost its agency. Because morality isn't going to change a system where 44% of American full-time workers don't make enough for their basic needs, or where half of the American homeless population is unemployed. But the thing that struck me most in this book, and the part
I want to rewind that, see what I missed.
American homeless population is unemployed.
Editor's note, Michael means employed.
Make enough for their basic needs, or where half of the American homeless population is unemployed.
Oh, half of the unhoused population is employed, meaning they're working and they're still unhoused.
But the thing that struck me most in this book, and the part that I think is most urgent for our contemporary moment, is the historic connection between liberalism and fascism. Or put more specifically,
the chat says, does it make a difference? It does to conservatives who think he's trying to combat the idea that unhoused people are lazy or they're not working.
the tendency of liberals to align with fascists when capitalism is under threat. In the book, she writes about how Jack Morgan Jr., one of the guys who started JP Morgan, now JP Morgan Chase, was vocally supportive of Mussolini's fascist economic policies. She brought this up when we spoke.
Many well-meaning liberals need to get shocked with historical analysis that reveal what they're trying to just avoid seeing. And I think it all started kind of from there by looking at a specific historical moment when Benito Mussolini, the founding father of fascism, rose to power in Italy in October of 1922. He rose to power not out of his own might, but out of the actual political support of this large alliance with liberals, both domestically, with a lot of economists supporting him, and internationally with, not just the Bank of Morgan, which is now more.
Am I confused? Okay, hold on.
Again, Chase Bank, but also the Bank of England, all of the international financial elite. Why were they supporting Mussolini? And, this is important because we usually understand fascism as an aberration and an exception, and of course, also something that is very distant from capitalism and from the market economy.
And while maybe not as high.
Chat said, I wonder if it made a difference because employed or unemployed, since the statistic was half, so it was flipped. Yeah, just to, then you realize he said unhoused, right? I think this is the question I have, because I was trying to think about this idea of, this is not my area of expertise at all, so I'm talking out my ass right now. But, I don't forget which comedian, I think it was Jon Stewart or Colbert, somebody made a joke about, the difference between Hitler and Trump, because they keep saying, oh, Trump is Hitler. Like, Trump's not Hitler. Hitler was well-liked. That's like the joke, right? It's like Hitler rose to power through populism. So it's kind of interesting. But Trump uses he weaponizes the same structure. So I'm confused a little bit about the idea of what is the difference? What is the material difference? Maybe I'm confused. What is the difference between liberals saying, this is why I like watching Ray, because I feel like she explains it better. In their head, what is the difference between liberals saying better of two evils and Marxists saying focus on capitalism and don't distract people with N-words? Like, isn't the result the same? That it comes at the expense of everybody? Specifically minority communities? I don't know. I got to think about that more.
high stakes as JP Morgan and Benito Mussolini teaming up. We see a version of this logic in the current very dumb beef between the Democratic establishment and Hassan Piker. While Piker is regularly raising money for and supporting progressive candidates within the Democratic Party, it's not good enough because he's still actively critical of both the capitalist project more generally and the specific outcomes of the capitalist project, like the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And in this book, Matei does a really brilliant job of showing how the political and humanitarian tragedy in Gaza and the West Bank is a direct product of the logic of capital.
But that development that still benefited such few individuals in the global north is based on the immiseration of the global south. And what I do is use Palestine and Israel, and again, Palestine in quotes, the occupied Palestinian territories, as a proxy of how, in fact, these relations of dependence are politically constructed.
This is all because, as Matei writes, liberals and fascists shared the common goal of protecting the capital order and aligned on the method to do so: aggressive austerity policies. And this is also why we need to be skeptical of the sort of logic that implies that not voting on the Democratic Party line is somehow tacitly supporting authoritarianism or fascism. As one of Matei's other fundamental claims is that capitalism and democracy are fundamentally incompatible. So the type of democracy that exists within capitalism is always neutered by the way in which capitalism is assumed as a sort of natural and apolitical economic system that exists separately from our political system. Which is why Matei writes that the achievement of universal suffrage gives us the impression of having the collective power to decide the future of our country. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that voting is dumb. It just means we need to be realistic with ourselves about what we're doing when we're voting and what the limits of democratic participation are under the current system. Now, because democracy, according to Matei, is fundamentally anti-capitalist, moving beyond capitalism is a fundamental prerequisite for a truly democratic society. And because capitalism has, in her words, no vision for humanity, we need to move on from this system at the basic level of creating a political and economic world that genuinely benefits human beings like us, benefits humans, most humans, all humans, and not algorithms and robots. And it really is as simple as all of that. Capitalism is an anti-democratic and dehumanizing project, and if we want democracy and our own humanity, we got to do something different.
My students work on Ghana, work on other places in the world. It's all the same script.
Yeah.
It's just different levels of the same shit that occurs over and over and over again. And it's what is allowing people, big, large shareholders to live in multi-million-dollar apartments in Manhattan. And New York, the city with more wealth in the world concentrated, and where 1 out of 8 children in New York have experienced homelessness in 2025, okay? And actually in certain quarters even higher. This is what the system is about.
So what do we do? How do we escape? Does Clara give us the playbook? Okay, so this book is not a step-by-step guide for how to do a revolution. What it does do is clearly articulate the problem and the stakes of our contemporary moment in language that's both clarifying for the seasoned anti-capitalist and provides a really nice inroad for those who are just kind of anti-capitalism curious. Matei calls us to remember that we cannot see reforms like universal healthcare as the end goal, which is an important reminder because we don't just want a Bernie Sanders style politician to come along and make capitalism a little less worse. We want that Bernie style politician to make our lives better in the short term so that we can then have the time, the resources, the space for our humanity, which is necessary for us to organize together and dismantle the capitalist order once and for all. In the book and in our conversation, Matei talks about her own activism, which happens via her organization, the Forum for Real Economic Emancipation, or FREE.
And the Forum for Economic Emancipation for me is really a huge space for hope because I feel less alone. I was very depressed as a mother with what was happening in Gaza, and what allowed me to live was to participate in assembly, to see that we are making a local impact that is changing the life of so many people just by being together in a collective, that we can make decisions together.
Now, I'm going to post the link to FREE in the description. They have a YouTube channel as well, and I know that Clara wants to hear from those who are interested in potentially starting a chapter in their own city. If you want to watch my full interview with Dr. Clara Matei, the author of Escape from Capitalism, it's available for free. There's a link below. It's on my Patreon, but everyone can watch it, so go check that out. I think we had a really great conversation. And if you want more of this stuff, if you want to talk about books and attend seminars with some of the most interesting political theorists and philosophers working today, consider signing up for Burns Theory on my Patreon. We have visiting guest lectures, office hours, lectures and talks from me, and the all-important Discord community that I finally started. Yep, tell everyone I finally have a Discord, Capitalism 1. And if you want to read this book, I think you should. Remember that the library rules. Now, if you want to own your own copy so you can take notes in it like how I do, use the bookshop.org link below, which supports independent bookstores and this channel and does not support Jeffrey Bezos. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to go try to escape capitalism. So I'll see you later. I'll let you know if I find a way out. Also, shout out to this office. This is the last video I'll be filming in this office space. Shout out to it existing. Shout out to this being the first place besides my home I was ever able to record videos for this channel. We had a good run, but now it's over.
Now it's dead. Okay, cool video. Great suggestions. I'll link the video so you guys can check out all of those resources, of course. And yes, chat, the Discord has, we don't have a formalized book club. What we do is we move between books, movies, TV shows, content on the internet, like, YouTube series. We take a poll. We get a reading of like what people are into at the moment. And every Saturday we get together and we go through a series. We also take breaks in between to do the Discord 101, which is an open discussion event. And we take breaks for maybe exceptions, like certain documentaries that come out we want to watch together. So we have done books in the past. We'll do books in the future. It just, we only get together once a week. So it's kind of one of those things. I wish I could get together every day, Sometimes, I wish I could just live on my Discord again like I did during lockdown. Sometimes I do miss those days, but I tried to keep a healthy balance of work-life balance. Like tomorrow, we have a Discord event. So I work 6 days a week to bring you all of this beauty, all of this beautiful, and you guys make it happen. So it's kind of a win-win. I make content, I'm available on the Discord, and you guys, by becoming members, obviously help make the content. But this is the dilemma too. Like if you like me and you like Michael Burns, like that's a lot of money every day or every month for a YouTuber. Though I will say we have as a family unsubscribed from almost every subscription model. Not every, obviously. We really got it down to only a few, and then I keep a couple for work stuff and everything. But generally, like, I think it's kind of, we're back on it again. I know some people went away from it for a while after COVID, but I think it might come back where people just start watching. I know my friends unsubscribed from YouTube Premium and Netflix and signed up for Nebula. They're like, fuck it, I'll watch Nebula. And I was like, damn, great. Like they also signed up for, what's the other one that people watch? I don't forget what it's called. There's another one that people watch. They're like, I'd rather just watch that stuff. And I'm like, there you go. So yeah. Also, talking about libraries, we've tried to find a Croatian library. The one I thought I was going to go to was closed down for repairs, but there is another one. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to go and check that one out. I'm pretty excited. And my partner and I talked about if we can afford to bring physical books back into our life. And then the problem is, like, I have to go find English books. So I'm in Croatia. Obviously, I'm going to try use bookstores. I'm going to try like secondhand. I'm going to say, like, do you have any books in English? Like, and I'll see what I can find. So that'll be kind of exciting. But I also like to take notes. So that feeling, like, I love having a physical copy of a book. I used to want a book I wanted a library when I was younger, which is why I owned. Guys, the only reason I know I've read over 2,000 books is because I had them in my hand. So that was just the books I bought. I had just purchased 2,000 books or had been gifted. And then I gave them all away. That's the only reason I know I read that many books, and I stopped counting after that. But so whatever I read after that, I don't even, I don't know. Who knows? But that's why I knew because I used to move. Guys, this is so stupid. I moved from my parents' house with 8 boxes of books. And then I moved those 8 boxes of books to Seattle. And then I moved those 8 boxes of books around Seattle. And then I kept moving all of my books until finally I was like, you know what, girl? We cannot keep moving these books. Like, we cannot do it. And so finally I said, until I find my forever home, we're not going to buy all these books or / collect all these books, But yeah, I used to literally move just boxes of books, but I love the smell of a book. I love the look of a book. I love the feel of a book. I feel like I really retain more information too when I'm able to review the book and go back to it and read it 100 times over. So anyways, one day in the future, I would really like that. Oh, I would really love a little library. Beauty and the Beast, the best scene is the library scene. That's the best scene. That really is the best scene. All right, girls, we did it. That's all for today. I appreciate you being here. I really do. It's been a crazy week. And oops, we'll watch that next week. And we did it. We're done. I think I really want to break from Hasan Piker. Mostly I want to break to let the audience have a break too, because he's going to get more famous. He will be in more videos, right? But I think I made my point clear this week. I really feel very successful in the things that I was trying to communicate. Also, I think that success is based off of your response. So I would say, I'm very impressed and excited, and I always love reading the comments. But mostly I trust that we are here in good faith, and that we are having some really good conversations that I hope is helping you change your life, All right, be good to each other. I'll see you Saturday on the Discord and Monday for stream. Okay, bye.